rise and unite, fueling the passion, igniting the light. Through highs and lows we'll stand as one, a legacy, a tale that's just begun. Together we roar, together we grow. Detroit Lions will rise, with a heart full of dreams and the fire in our eyes. From the past to the future we'll claim our own. In the home of the brave we'll proudly have grown. So let's lift our voices, let's turn it up loud. For the love of the Lions we'll always be proud.
Yeah.
On my phone was Peyton Manning. He said, Jeff, I feel your pain. Will you join me in exorcising the curse of Bobby Lane? Just like that, we started winning. Just like that, we were playoff bound. Just like that, way up in heaven, Bobby Lane turned around. Say goodbye to all that sorrow. Say goodbye to all that pain. Say goodbye. Same old lion and the curse of Bobby Lane. Everybody say goodbye to all that sorrow. Say goodbye to all that pain. Say goodbye to same old lion and the curse of Bobby.
All right. 1 second here. All right. How's everybody doing, man? Good morning. It's Christmas Eve. Why not do a show, man? I've been up since 2 o'clock working this morning. Not by choice. Just so happened to be one of those days for me. So I figured I'd get on this morning, chat with everybody. Probably won't have a lot of people in. Plenty of things to do today other than listen to Will rock you up about your Lions, man. Tomorrow is the game that really defines the rest of the season, regardless of what any other teams do in the league. The Lions can either extend their ability to get a 7th seed, or they can pack it up and head home. And more than likely, a lot of fans probably have already dipped out, right? You've cashed in the season. My God, have I heard it online. I don't care if it's 97.1 The Ticket, Twitter, Facebook, wherever. Fans are disgruntled, man. We're a mess. We're upset. We're not happy. I think that there's misplaced blame being passed around everywhere, talking about David Montgomery and his, apparent ability to be on the team next year, and little do people realize he's sick. So his post yesterday about being on the shelf is more likely due to his illness and the fact that he may not be able to suit up in this game. It is wintertime. It is Michigan, and people do get sick. So believe what you want to believe. Whether he suits up or whether he doesn't, it is what it is. And whether he comes back next year or whether he doesn't, it is what it is. It's football, right? And I think that maybe that's where the conversation starts. I heard a lot of negativity yesterday. Keeping this player, not keeping that player. No time for projects, no roster spots for projects. And I just had to laugh. And I don't get why I feel like I'm the only one out there. And I know a lot of you in this chat all, feel similar to the way I feel, or, some of you have different opinions too. There's nothing wrong with that. That's what makes us great. Is, do the Lions really have a lot of projects? And do they have more projects versus other teams? Well, by the time I get done today with my research, I'm going to have that answer. I'm going to have that answer tonight. And I'll make sure that I put it out on Christmas for everybody to read. I'm going to tell you right now the answer is no. But I want to back it up with fact and not have it be an opinion. Who are the projects? When you really look at it, who are the projects on this roster? So I want to start with this, even though I will put out a full article that explains it all. Let's take a look at the Lions roster, starting roster for 2025. I'll get into some game stuff today. Obviously, offense and defense conversation. We'll get into insights of the game. We'll break it down. What could the Lions do against the Vikings in this game that could be different from the first matchup? How are we going to keep their defense out of Jared Goff's lap? I think that is key number one. That the Lions need to make sure that they keep Jared Goff clean in this game. He can't take 5 sacks and expect to win the ball game. And I heard like TJ Lang. I better write some of this stuff down. I heard TJ Lang yapping his yak yesterday and saying, Jared Goff's got to get the ball out earlier. I want to talk about that too, because I'm not saying he's wrong. I mean, who am I to challenge a former pro athlete, offensive lineman? However, I think he's wrong in this case. So let's talk about TJ Lang today. We'll talk about the Vikings game, matchups. We're going to do Lions roster and projects. All this coming to you off the cuff. Well, most of it. I'll take phone calls today. And we'll just see where the rest of the day takes us. I'm not going to be on 3 hours today, that is for sure. Let's start with Lions roster. Again, first and foremost, Merry Christmas to everybody. Merry Christmas Eve. More importantly, do me a huge favor and make sure that you share the DetroitFootballJournal.com. All you have to do is share it and follow the rules that I put on Twitter. It should be posting consistently, updating on my profile. If you go to Will Rock Jr. on Twitter, you will see that there's free gift giveaway, and that is just sharing the link on your socials. It's www.DetroitFootballJournal.com. If you know somebody that loves to read about the Lions, or hey, they want to listen to their articles while they're driving, guess what? DetroitFootballJournal.com does that. Right now, I am the sole writer. We will be adding some more people soon. And we have one other writer. JR helps me out from time to time. Repost it. Just write free membership in the post. That's all you have to do. And then sign up. Just go to DetroitFootballJournal.com. Anybody that signs up right now through the end of the year, I'm going to give you a free year of membership. It's like $96 or whatever of value. We're going to go ahead and make sure that it's free for you for the rest of 2026. There's other ways to earn additional years, months, whatever, just by sharing and bringing people in. But tag me on social media when you do share it. You got to make sure you follow the rules, right? You got to share it. You can't just go and sign up. Got to share it. It's limited to the first 100 new signups. That's the only caveat. There's no credit cards needed, right? There's none of that stuff. It's simply free to sign up. And on there will be more content coming soon. So everything will be on that site in due time. But if you know Lions fans that want to read and want to listen to some good, what I feel is pretty good writing. I've been told otherwise at times. There you go. There's a free Christmas gift for you. All you got to do is give it away. You just got to tell someone about it. It's that simple. All right, Lions roster, starting roster this year. How many projects did we have on our starting roster? Projects. I want to make sure we're clear about this. Apparently, we have projects on our starting roster. Now, let me clarify what a starting roster is. A starting roster is the roster that you have put together when the 53-man cuts have been done. It is your first 25 players. That is your starting offense, defense, and special teams. Now, you have a third roster, if you will, which is that special teams core. And those are the players that are typically not in the top 25, but you do have some crossover, right? You will have some players that play on offense or defense that do play in special teams because they're damn good football players. Now, I haven't gone in to see just how many the percentage of starters on offense and defense are on special teams, but throughout the season, you're going to have players that, that are cross-pollinated, if you will, that play both sides, play all three phases, whatever, or play two phases, excuse me. It's rare that they play all three. He's on his bed. He's right here. So your starting 25 would include Jared Goff, Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery. So they're starting 26, really. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, was Sam Laporta and Brock Wright, Taylor Decker, Christian Mahogany, Graham Glasgow, Tate Ratledge, Penei Sewell. So on offense, you have a little bit more than 11. You have a little bit more than 25. But Jared Goff, Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, Sam Laporta, Brock Wright, Taylor Decker, Christian Mahogany, Graham Glasgow, Tate Ratledge, Penei Sewell. That's 12. That's really your starters. I probably wouldn't go any further than that. Those are your top 12 guys. Did I mention any projects in there? Is Christian Mahogany a project? Is that what we're equating a project to? Is a guy that was able to earn a starting position? And trust me, I'm going somewhere with this. I'll get there in a minute. I need to write that down too. Offensive line. O-line 2026. I was getting into people's feelings yesterday. They're acting, they want to put stuff out there on Twitter and expect for people to not respond. Yeah, that's not going to happen. I'm not doing that anymore. I stayed away from Twitter for a while. I'm coming for you now. Oh, gloves are off. I try to walk the PC line as much as I can. I try to promote, just being a good dude. Try not to cause drama, and I don't really want to cause drama. But I get so sick of the lies, the people that just spread the hate, spread the misinformation, and I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's political or football. I don't care what it is. Sometimes, I just got to say my piece, and a lot of times I just don't. I'll text it all out and then I'll delete it because at least I got it all out off my chest, and then I delete it. Don't even send it. It's something that I've passed along to people to do. It is a good exercise. Type it all out, delete it. If you accidentally hit send, well, that's on you. So anyway, is Christian Mahogany a project? I would really love to know. Man, Andy, it's early for you this morning. Hopefully you're not working this morning, man. Good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. Make sure you tell your family Merry Christmas for me. Good morning, Crown. That early for you, cruising. Jesus, man. Oh, you're working today? My God. Hopefully you're working on your tan. Okay. There's no way that Christian Mahogany is truly a project. Here's what I would say. His draft slot where he was drafted, I think a lot of people take exception to this, that he is a project because of where he was drafted. Okay. And I get it. But where was he really supposed to be taken? Why did he slip? The rumor, multiple GMs spoke of this, through condition of anonymity, of course, that because they found out that one of his legs was about an inch longer than the other, that's why he slipped in the draft. Okay, as long as he can play the game, I really don't care if one of his legs is longer than the other. And honestly, depending on which leg it is, it could be a help to his anchor, to be honest. You know, if your anchor foot is an inch longer than your front foot, then that helps you. That helps you, keep your pads low. Keeps you face forward, face down, nose down a little bit, right? So I don't see any problem with that. What I would say is that who I envision us having as a starting left guard or starting right guard or starting center? No, it's not. Of course it's not. I would love to have all pros everywhere, right? I would love to have Pro Bowlers everywhere in the sense of, that they've been voted by their peers. I could care less about the Pro Bowl. When I refer to Pro Bowl, it's the fact that they've been voted by their peers as the best athlete. Now, I think all pro is a much better way to look at, if someone is really good at what they do. I think Pro Bowls they're okay, right? But it's still a popular vote. It's not a sum of what you've done vote. So I don't see any projects on the starting offense. Not one. And I'm not going to put Christian Mahogany there. If he earned the spot coming out of camp and the Lions only kept 50, not 53, then how did we keep any projects when you only kept 50 players on the starting roster coming out of camp? If Brad was keeping a bunch of projects, that number should have been higher, right? Am I wrong? Am I wrong in thinking that? You'll tell me, of course. How about defense? Aiden Hutchinson, Al-Qadim Muhammad, Marcus Davenport, Ali McNeil, DJ Reader, Derek Barnes, Roy Lopez, Jack Campbell, Alex Anzalone, DJ Reed, Rock Ya-Sin, Terrion Arnold, Amik Robertson, Avante Maddox, Kirby Joseph, Brian Branch. So that's roughly, 16 players I mentioned? Are any of them projects? No. What is Avante, a seven-year vet? How about Amik Robertson? He's, a 6-year vet? How about Rock Ya-Sin? He's got to be a 7 to 9-year vet. DJ Reed, 5-year vet. Thomas Harper, he's up there. Hell, even Arthur Mollett. He's definitely not a project. Malcolm Rodriguez, I didn't even mention him. He's not a project. But then again, Malcolm Rodriguez was drafted where? In the 5th round? Turned out to be a really damn good football player, didn't he? How about Amon-Ra St. Brown? He was drafted in the 4th round. Was he a project? He had to have been a project, right? Because we didn't draft him in the 1st or 2nd round. I mean, my mind is in a blender right now, trying to make sense of what these idiots out there are saying the Lions and Brad Holmes are bringing in for projects. That's right. I called them idiots. Because if you can't look at a roster and call out these names and then pinpoint which one is a project, and that player played a majority of snaps to start, then I think you're an idiot. Matter of fact, there's a guy that said it better than me.
You fucking crazy, man. You sound insane. Do you realize that?
One more time for the people in the back.
You fucking crazy, man. You sound insane. Do you realize that?
You are insane. You're effing crazy. When you have a starting team, starting roster, Every team is expecting, every coach, every GM is expecting, man, I don't want to lose any of these guys this year. But they're expecting for those players to go down. At some point, they're expecting every single one of them to get hurt. That's how you look at a roster. Every single one of them is probably going to get injured at some point. Some are going to be game ending. They leave a game. Some could be week ending, 2 weeks, 3-week injuries. Some could be IR. Some could come out and go right back in. But no matter what, these guys are getting banged up after the first week of training camp. They're all banged up already. By the time they get through the first quarter of the season, they're already operating at about 95% if they're lucky. Every single football player. But the fact is, the only players you could really consider a project on the entire roster is Giovanni Manu and who else? Who else? Who else could we consider a project? You know who the name I didn't mention? I didn't mention Levi Onwuzurike. I didn't mention Josh Paschal, the two players that didn't make it up this year. We've done fine in that department, though, but those two players would have been huge for our defensive line and our run game had they been on this squad and playing a significant amount of snaps this season. Tyleik Williams has been one of the better defensive tackles in the league. He's definitely not a project. Tyler Lacey and Tyrus Wheat. I mean, every single player on the defensive line, from what I showed you yesterday, is better than Aiden Hutchinson in the run game. But yet we're going to call some of these guys projects? Wheat and Lacey were brought in because of injury. Those you can't expect for us to have 12, 13. It's the same argument from last year. How are you going to have 12 or 13 or 14 defensive linemen somehow stashed on a roster and a practice squad and then ignore all the other positions? But then when the other positions get injured, it's like, well, Brad brought in a project. He brought in Giovanni Manu. We could have had somebody else there playing the what about game in the hindsight 2020 game. I don't get it.
You fucking crazy, man. You sound insane. Do you realize that?
Okay, maybe I'm insane. Maybe I'm just not seeing the fact that Brad Holmes screwed up so bad that Giovanni Manu ruined our entire season and last season because he didn't play last year. And he didn't play this year but one game, and then he had a knee injury. He is so bad, he ruined our entire season for that one draft pick.
You fucking crazy, man. You sound insane. Do you realize that?
Every idiot out there that says that we've been bringing in projects, that sound bites for you. Sorry. If some of you were in the chat today, this is today's conversation. We'll be over it by Friday. Is there anyone else that I'm missing? Colby Sorsdahl, he was a project? That's 5 years ago, man. 5 years ago. Is he even on the roster? No. Is he playing? Nope. And where was he drafted? Where was he drafted? 5th round pick. Hold on, buddy.
You fucking crazy, man. You sound insane. Do you realize that?
5th round pick. Are you now saying that 5th round picks are supposed to be starters in the NFL day one? Are you saying that a 5th round pick is supposed to be an immediate backup and is supposed to play at starter caliber level on day one? Because if you believe that, your first thing that you need to do is stop playing Madden. That's probably the first mistake. The second mistake is stop watching college football where they have NIL money and they can have these loaded rosters because they have more guys. How many players can you have on a college roster now? What, 90? It's a crazy number. $105 with 85 scholarships. Can't compare it. I heard that argument too. Well, why is it that college can have all these great players? I think I just answered the question. NIL, 85 scholarships. It's double the amount of an NFL squad. Double. Colby Sorsdahl was drafted in 2023. 5th round pick. He was never drafted to be a starter immediately. He came out of William and Mary as an offensive tackle at 6'6", 301 pounds, and had a prospect grade of 5.64. He was supposed to be a high caliber backup. But unfortunately, what happened in 2023 is a massive amount of injury. Again, but this time to the offensive line, where he was installed and had to play. In brief periods between 23 and 2024, Colby Sorsdahl had to play. And he didn't play well. Why didn't he play well? Because he was never a starter. He never got starting snaps until he was forced to play. These guys don't get a ton of work. They don't. But again, go point at another offense, another team that has backups that are as good as their starters. It's the same freaking argument that we have about going out and buying another edge or this, that, or the other thing. It's unintelligent, stupid conversation by people that don't know football. That's what it is. If you get lucky and you are able to have some guys on your roster that can play at a high level, you got lucky. If Colby would have worked out, you would have got lucky. But there's going to be a significant drop-off between Penei Sewell and Colby Sorsdahl, Taylor Decker and Colby Sorsdahl. Huge drop-off. Matter of fact, your favorite defensive end, Aiden Hutchinson, he has his best production in every single season against non-first round draft picks. The guys that are starting on offensive lines, Aiden doesn't do much with. But those second and third and fourth stringers, that's where he has his success. And he has the majority of his success against third and fourth stringers. Why is that? Because they are so far below the grade. Aiden should tear them apart. And so should any other starter. That's why you should have success against those guys on every team. That's the way it's built. So when you draft guys that are supposed to be backups, they're backups. You're hoping that they don't play. They all need time to season. Right? Let me give you an analogy here. I'll give you two about the same subject. We'll relate it to food. For those of you that know how to cook a really good steak, you'll know what I'm saying. If I knew the statement from the movie by Chris Farley, I would say that, but I don't remember it. You don't take a cow out of the pasture, skin them, butcher it up, and go throw it on the grill. Why is that? It's going to be tough. Right? It's not going to have great flavor. Now, you could, and a lot of people do. Right? And it will taste like steak. It will. But if you wet age it for at least 15 days, oh man, that flavor gets more robust. Right? Way better. Just by wet aging it for 15 days. So it needs a little bit of time to soften up. Right? It needs a little bit of time to marinate in its own juice, if you will. The enzymes, everything has to break down. The fat needs to break down. Needs to loosen up. Because right when it's cut, everything is doing this. All the nerves are going crazy, right? You've seen the viral videos online. That's legit. And all those nerves that are doing this are making your meat very, very tough. But after 15 days of wet aging and the muscles and the nerves and everything has time to relax, that steak is much better. But there's another issue. If you just take that steak and you throw it on the grill and then you throw it right on your plate and you cut right into it, it's going to bleed everywhere. Well, you think it's blood. It's not, but it's going to be juice everywhere. Great dipping sauce. You ruin the steak. You pull it off the grill, you throw it on your cutting board or in your resting butter like I do, and you let it sit there for about 10, 15 minutes. The rule of thumb is however long you cooked it, you let it rest that long. Why? You need everything to relax again. And then it spreads that instead of having just a little bit of pink in the middle, now it spreads it all the way out. And you have just that very thin gray mark on the outside. And it's a nice, even, flavorful steak. Need time. Just like Kobe needed time. They gave him some time. Didn't work out. Manu is an amazing athlete. There's not many like him. There's not many guys that are that size that can move the way that he does, that has the ability to play the game that we know he has. I don't care where he came from. I don't care. But what I do care about is people trashing this dude who's only played one NFL game and suffered a knee injury during that game. And to make matters worse, he's playing on an offensive line that has had nothing but issues this year. Dan Campbell just said yesterday, we're still having communication problems. It's week 16. And we're still having communication problems. Johnny Moe clearly didn't get this team ready to go. And neither did Dan Campbell. But I'm not going to blame a third-round pick that y'all think is a project. Okay, he is to a degree, but so is every player that is not a starter. They are all projects. Even the starters are projects. Aiden's not the player he was when he was a rookie, is he? He should be better, right? Jared Goff's not the player he was as a rookie. He lost every single game, looked like crap. Should be better. Jahmyr Gibbs is not the same player he was when he was a rookie, and neither is Jameson Williams, the number 12 overall pick. He looked like shit as a rookie. Didn't know the playbook, couldn't run a route, had a very limited route tree. Now look at him. Needed time. Now, I'm not going to go deep off any more than I already have because I've wasted a lot of time on this subject. I'm trying to be clear here that every team drafts guys that they're taking a little bit of risk on. And you have to. The other side of that coin is, tell me where you would have been able to put another starter. Let me go through the roster one more time. And I would like for you to tell me where we could have brought in another player. Jared Goff, Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams. Okay, let's go through the wide receiver room. Isaac Tesla, Khalif Raymond, Tom Kennedy, Dominic Lovett. Dominic Lovett's a rookie. You don't know what you got yet. His upside is great. You don't expect for him to play. Special teams guy. Not a project. Special teams player. Tom Kennedy, Mr. Consistent. Okay, so if you would have got rid of him, what is his value then? Well, Tom has done great. In the limited role that he's been asked to play this year, he's done great. Tom was a project. Pretty happy we stuck with him. Khalif Raymond. Would you have gotten rid of Khalif Raymond? All-pro punt returner? Would you have added a different wide receiver to get rid of Khalif Raymond? Would you really have kept Tim Patrick? I hope that the answer is no. That was a smart move. Isaac Tesla. as a rookie. Very limited amount of snaps because he's not needed. Already has 5 touchdowns, or did have 5 touchdowns. I think he does have 5 touchdowns now in the season. Exactly what I thought he would be. I said he would have 400 yards and 5 touchdowns this year. I think he's pretty damn close. If I said that at the beginning of the year, why is that? Because I understand where these guys slot in the hierarchy of the roster. Because I do the research to make sure that I can give you good quality information. What other receiver would we have brought in? And if anybody says Puka Nacua, I'm shutting it down. Nobody knew who Puka Nacua was. Nobody. Just like nobody knew who Amon-Ra St. Brown was. Or if you say Kobe Turner, I knew who Kobe Turner was. I know the other fakers out there that put videos out and say that this was Brad's worst move or worst decision or whatever, biggest mistake. I'm the one that brought Kobe Turner to light. Not them. I did. And you know what's funny? I put the receipts up the other day from 2023 having that conversation with Mr. Andy Benedetti. Kobe Turner was my guy. 5th round draft pick. 4th round draft pick. Said he would slide up into the 3rd. Exactly where he was taken. But you didn't have a shot at him because the Lions didn't pick that early. We didn't even have a draft pick. You could have taken him way early in the 2nd round. That would have been a grave mistake. Maybe, maybe not. But you know what? Hindsight is always 20/20. And again, there wasn't a whole lot being said about Kobe Turner. I just happened to watch his film quite a bit and loved what he did, and I thought that there was a lot of high upside there. He's also on a really good defense. And so that would have been the Broderick Martin pick. Like I said the other day, Brad brought these guys in and said, okay, shit or get off the pot. He literally gave them less than a season. Broderick Martin came in his first season. He ended up getting injured. He had a knee injury, didn't play. And then this last summer, got through training camp, didn't make the team. He gave him 1 year. That was it. That is not a GM loading up this roster with a bunch of projects. So let's go through that one more time. There's no way that you're replacing Jared Goff, Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery. You haven't needed Sione Vaki. Jacob Sailors, what a huge pickup he's been. Dude's amazing in special teams and an extremely good returner. He's only going to get better. But you know what? We shouldn't have brought him in. He was a project. We shouldn't have brought him in. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamison Williams, Isaac Tesla is... Look, tell me another team out there that their number 3 receiver is as good or better than Isaac Tesla with the same amount of snaps. There's not. Sam Laporta, Brock Wright. I don't think I need to answer that. Taylor Decker. Get rid of Dan Skipper. Because Dan Skipper is your immediate backup, not Giovanni Mano. Gio's the third string tackle. So when Dan Skipper's gone next year and Giovanni moves up and we are drafting another player to fill the pipeline, or we're drafting Taylor Decker's replacement, I'm not expecting Gio to leapfrog anybody unless for some reason we don't take a first-round left tackle or we don't trade or get somebody in free agency that is better than Taylor Decker, which I think would be a grave mistake, and I'll talk about that in a moment. Christian Mahogany right now is our left guard because of a situation. I don't think that Christian Mahogany was ever the full answer. I don't. But what was Brad supposed to do? What was he going to do? Go out and trade? Pick up someone in free agency? If I remember correctly, a large part of this fan base was screaming for Christian Mahogany to be the starter this year because of what he did last season. And I warned y'all, it was 2 games, high grade, not enough snaps. But he's been fine. The miscommunications are a problem. And that could be all Graham Glasgow. Graham Glasgow was not our starter. Graham Glasgow would have been our left guard, probably ahead of Christian Mahogany. More than likely ahead of Christian Mahogany. Unfortunately, Frank Ragnow retired. There was nobody else for Brad to go out and get. I've already spoken about this 3 or 4 times in the last 10 days. There was nobody that Brad could have went out and taken after the draft, after free agency. You already passed OTAs into June when Frank Ragnow retires on June 2nd. And then after 90-man cuts, then what? That's who you're bringing in? Someone that just got cut? There was no centers cut that you were going to bring in that were better than Graham Glasgow. Get real. There's no team out there that's trading their number 1 center because there's not a number 2 on most teams. Again, it's uneducated people that don't know football, that don't know what roster building is all about, that are out here saying that Brad made all these mistakes. There was no mistakes to even be made. The only mistake is that either Brad fumbled the ball and Frank told him early that he was retiring and they waited till post June 1, or Frank fumbled the football and didn't give Brad enough warning or notice. Because if Frank's playing, you're not drafting somebody according to Brad's model. Right? You're not. Because you had Graham Glasgow in a pinch. And that was it in a pinch. So we'll get to the trade in a moment. Tate Ratledge will be an exceptional right guard. It's his first year. He's doing fine. He will be exceptional in year 2. So the only guy that I can see on here that's a problem, well, really nobody. Miles Frazier, again, a late round pick, never expected to be a starter. But wait till I tell you this. Right when I get back.
Pressured by Hutchinson, he goes down again.
Okay, you want to talk about a reset. You want to talk about what the Lions are about to become? I need you to think for a moment. Even just close your eyes if you want to for a moment and just listen to this. I'm going to switch my tone because I don't want to be negative going into Christmas Eve. I don't want to be negative going into Christmas. But I am downright frustrated with this fan base getting after DJ Reader and saying all the crap that they're saying to our Lions. Making videos about David Montgomery not being here anymore because you're going to clickbait it. You're going to try to make your $15 for the day, and he's sick. It's frustrating. When I look at a roster, here's what I see. And matter of fact, just remind me of one thing. If our defense would have stayed healthy, how great is this defense right now? I'm gonna put that poll up while I go to a different topic. But if our defense, if the Lions defense stays healthy, how great are they right now? Top 5, top 10. Top 15, they are where they are now. Okay, so answer that poll question while I go into this next part of what I really would love to drive home today. Next season, the Lions are in a very unique position. We have all of our draft picks but a 3rd round draft pick. And we know Brad will end up with a 3rd round draft pick before it's all said and done. We know that. Not even worried about it. And maybe he does something better than that. Maybe he gets rid of 2027's draft picks and goes all in on a couple of players in next year's draft. Maybe he does that. And if he does that, I hope all those players work out, because if any of them break their leg or bust up a hamstring or end up on IR, and then they become a bust in your eyes, then Brad made a mistake there too. So he's going to do everything that you want him to do, and then he's still going to get blamed. It's a no-win situation for the guy. It has got to be the worst job in the world. The best and the worst. Okay, so just walk with me for a moment. If you believe that Christian Mahogany and Miles Frazier were brought in to be our starters, you're wrong. My opinion, but I believe you're wrong if you believe that. And the reason is this. They are playing right now because they are forced to play. Graham Glasgow had to be center. Frank Ragnow retired. That forces next man up. Next man up was Christian Mahogany because he had experience. Miles Frazier didn't have experience. Miles Frazier was injured. Miles Frazier wasn't even supposed to play this year at all, but he was forced to play. At the very beginning of the season, Dan said, highly unlikely that guy's coming back this year. But he willed his ass back to the team because the team needed him. But if you think that those guys were supposed to be our starters for the rest of eternity of their life in the NFL, I don't believe that. Let's just say this. We'll start with left tackle Taylor Decker. If Taylor Decker plays next year, that means Frank Ragnow came back. And if that happens, I think it's going to make a bunch of fans feel good. I think it's going to end in disaster. Frank just needs to stay retired. And Taylor Decker should probably join him. Taylor Decker is now in the same, not because he's not a great football player, not because he's not great for the team, because he is. Love Taylor Decker, love everything about him. It's because of his injuries and the age, the amount of time he played in the league. He's getting injured more often, and that shoulder's wasted. Yeah, he can get rehabbed. He tried to do that all last year, and it didn't work. Just like Kirby has a knee issue, I'm willing to bet that the Taylor Decker has a bone-on-bone type of situation, probably needs rotator cuff surgery, or he probably has arthritic condition in his shoulder, which will never get better. Can't do anything about it. You can try stem cells, but it probably won't get better. So let's just say both those guys stay retired, okay? Or that Ragnow stays retired and Decker joins them. Lions have two choices. You can either go out and you can trade for an all-pro type left tackle. Three choices. You can either go out and trade for an all-pro left tackle. No, I don't know who that is today. You can go out and sign an all-pro left tackle if there's one in free agency. And what is that going to cost you? Okay, here's what it's going to cost you. It's going to cost you no less than $25 million a year. Whatever Panay's making, that's what this guy will make. If you go out and sign someone. Well, that's an option. Or if you trade, it's still going to cost you $25 million, probably. Because they're going to want a new deal. Depending on the age, 4, maybe 5 years in the league. I wouldn't go beyond that. And that's going to cost you a first-round draft pick, more than likely. At least a second, but more likely a first. So now you don't have a first-round pick in 2026. If you're lucky, 2027. I don't think the Lions would be that lucky. So you're without a first-round draft pick, but now you got a left tackle. And now you're down $25 million. And Jared Goff's going to restructure his contract to re-sign Gibbs and Campbell and Branch. And, well, not if you're bringing in a left tackle. See, if Jared Goff restructures his contract, that'll pay for a left tackle. So what's the answer? Y'all wanted Hutch signed. That got done. You wanted Ali McNeil signed. That got done. You wanted Kirby signed. That got done. Who else did Brad sign over the last couple of years? Penei Sewell got signed. Amon-Ra St. Brown got signed. That's 5 major deals that Brad just did in the last year and a half. That is half of the salary cap with Jared Goff, because Jared Goff got done too, so that's 6. It's more than half of the salary cap in 6 players. And you still have 3 more players that deserve max deals. It's almost impossible to get that done. And you think that it's just as easy to go out and trade or sign someone off the, off free, during free agency? How? 2 + 2 always equals 4. Always. You can't keep bringing in these players and keep re-signing your own players and then bring in additional players. That is why you have to draft. That is why you take a risk here or there. JMO was a huge risk. Worked out. But that is why Brad Holmes also hit on the Brian Branches, their Kirby Josephs, Eli McNeils. It was a 3rd-round pick. You get where I'm going, right? You have to take a couple of risks. You have to have a couple of projects early in the development of your roster. Now, and even last year, not so much. There's not a whole lot of room because they'll never make the damn roster. That's the only reason why there won't be more quote-unquote projects. They can't make the roster anyway. It's really hard for a 6th and 7th rounder to make the roster. So for Brad Holmes next year, here's the answer. And I think that you're going to enjoy this for a moment. You go out and you do everything that you have to do to bring in the best center in the draft. And in my opinion right now, that is Jake Slaughter or Slater out of Florida. He will be a top 15 pick. You are going to have to move heaven and earth to be able to go get that guy, at least right now. Now, when we get into the draft, we get measurements and speed and all that good stuff, and then we hear more about that player. We'll see where he ends up slotting because it depends on what happens with quarterbacks. It depends on what's happening with all these edge players that honestly aren't that great size-wise. There's some great football players, but size-wise, they don't fit. So we have to kind of let this, develop, if you will. So you go out, you move heaven and earth, you get the number 1 center in the draft. You do that because you need to save money and you want the guy for 5 years before you extend him, and that helps you save money and kind of kick the can a little bit, right? So now center is taken care of, and a center can usually have a pretty big impact in year 1. Tate Ratledge will be in year 2, and he's going to be a hell of a football player the way he is right now. The communication issues will be fixed that they've had with everybody on the offensive line. And then you have Penei Sewell on the right side. So from center to right, you're good. You're locked in. Let's go center to left. Now you have a choice. Mahogany will be in his 3rd year. How much better will he be? Frazier will be in his 2nd season. He'll have a full off season. Will he actually be the player that you want him to be? Manu will be in his 3rd season. How much development will he have? Okay, well, let's just err on the side of caution for a moment. All 3 of those guys are now your backups. Manu is now your skipper. Frazier is now your backup left or right, and you could be a left tackle backup, but it could be your backup left guard or right guard. Mahogany could be your backup left guard or right guard. And one or both of those guys will train at center. Bye Kingsley, bye Owasika, bye Skipper. You're cleaning house. Hard reset. But now you have 3 of the most capable and best backups in the league. Now you're starting to get where Brad Holmes is going. Now are you starting to see his vision? Because I've been seeing it since day 1. These guys were not brought in for this year. They were not brought in for last year. We had our starters. One retired, others got injured. It is what it is. But in 2026, in the 3rd year or 2nd year of these guys' career, they're going to be just fine. They've been through it. Their body is transformed. They've been through it now with the scheme, the direction, the coaching. Everything gets better every year for these guys if they're a player that can get better. So then you go out and you now go and trade or pick up a all-pro left guard. That's what you do. Tate is not your answer at center. He's not. He told you last year he didn't like it, was not playing well. Doesn't mean that he doesn't try really hard in the offseason, but I think that's a mistake. If I'm the GM, if I'm Brad Holmes, I'm leaving Ratledge where he is. I'm leaving Penei Sewell where he is. I'm bringing in the best center in the draft. I'm bringing in an all-pro left guard, and then I'm doing something about left tackle. And maybe it's it's all-pro left tackle that you get in free agency versus all-pro left guard. Just left guard's a lot less expensive. So you can also go and draft a left tackle as well. Now, putting 2 rookies in there or 3 rookies in there, that's a bad idea. One, either left guard or left tackle, has to be a guy with experience. But having those 3 guys behind them that have experience, that'll help get those guys further ahead quicker. That solves your problem. And the reason why I say left guard is because of our inside duo game, right? Our power game. You want to have an extremely good left guard, center, right guard. That's what you need. You need your pulling guards to be able to get to the second level. So that's why I'm opting for an all-pro left guard versus a left tackle. So you could trade, you could free agent, sign somebody, or you draft. But that's the vision that I have. So you either have to go all in on the offensive line, or it's patchwork again. Okay, let's say that Brad even gets half of that accomplished. Let's say that he brings in that Jake Slater, and you get the best center in the draft. Well, we're way ahead of where we were this year, just with that signing. And then let's say you get either an all-pro caliber left tackle or left guard. And Taylor Decker wants to play one more year. And then you have Giovanni Manu behind him, and you have Frazier behind him. We're still in great shape. Next season, mark my words, today on Christmas Eve in 2025, the Detroit Lions will have a top 3 offensive line. At this time in 2026, the Lions will have a top 3 offensive line. All Brad has to do is what I just said. And it is all possible and it is all feasible. But if he decides to roll the dice and he's willing to take the risk that Manu is your answer at left tackle, and he could be, again, development is everything, or that Frazier is your left tackle, he could be, but again, that's a 6th round pick. I don't think you guys want that, do you? Because those are projects. What happens if he turns out to be a really good left tackle? Development is everything. But expecting and putting these big expectations on rookies, let alone guys that were drafted in the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round, even the 3rd round.
You fucking crazy, man. You sound insane. Do you realize that?
Exactly. Fourth round pick, whatever Frazier was. You get what I'm saying. Fourth round pick is no different. It's still a project, according to everyone that thinks all these other players were, and he was 5th round pick. He wasn't a 4th round pick. He was a 5th round pick. 6'6", 317 pounds. He's got short arms. That's why I'll never see him as a left tackle. He has 32 3/4 inch arms. It's too short. That's a guard all day. It is not a left tackle. Now his wingspan could change that a little bit. I get that the next conversation is the grit factor, the culture factor, and listening to 97 Won the Tickets, they kept putting out a couple of things yesterday, kept popping up in my feed. And I heard Valenti talking about the grit factor, the culture factor, and bringing in these guys that are all about that. And looking around the league, you've got other teams that are out there bringing in some guys that don't fit your culture, don't fit your identity, that you need a couple of those guys in the locker room. Yeah, I don't necessarily agree with that. These are not universal soldiers or whatever that bullshit take was about guys that are just yup guys. No, I don't think we have that either. I think what we have is an identity that these guys are going to work hard and they're going to put the team before I. That's the culture, right? That you're going to be a great football player on the field and an even better human off the field. That's the culture. I don't think that the culture is anything else than that. Work hard, great player on, better human off the field. You're not going to get in trouble. You might toe the company line, which means follow the damn rule book, right? Don't do dumb shit. Don't be betting. Don't be taking steroids, right? Follow the team rules, the curfews. Just don't be an idiot. But when you get in there, you work your ass off for the guy next to you. That's the culture. And I hope they continue with that culture. The only thing that I would ask Brad to do differently in his drafting is to maybe go for the guy that has more prototypical size and length. I know that Brad says he doesn't, last year he comes to the podium with HWS on his chest. Height, weight, speed. Because everybody talks about height, weight, speed. And he brings in guys that are not prototypical size when they turn out to be pretty good football players. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with having some of your players that maybe don't quite fit, but they end up being really good football players anyway. The problem is some of those positions, you just can't risk it. If you go and get a first-round left tackle that has 32-inch arms, I'm going to lose it on you. Right? I would lose it because there's no other GM that's going to do that. Not if you're looking for an elite left tackle. Most left tackles, here, let me bring up my draft from last year. My draft notes. Take a look at offensive linemen here. Here you go. Your average arm length, 33 and a quarter. Average. That's all of the prospects from last draft. The average arm length was 33 and a quarter. The elite football players, when I compare them to the elite football players, guys that have gold jackets, their average is 33 and a half. And I know it's just a quarter of an inch, but when you add that to their wingspan, right, and you add it to their ape index that is average, then things really change. If you're elite and rare in the NFL, if you're extremely rare in the NFL as a left tackle, your arms are over 34 and a half inches. Jordan Mailata, 35. All I'm asking Brad to do is not take anybody that has a shorter arm length than 33 and a half inches, and I don't want to see anyone with a shorter ape score than 1.05. So 82-inch wing, 77.5 inches or taller, 318 pounds or heavier, 33 and a half inch arms or better, 82-inch wingspan or better, a 1.06 ape score or better, and a 9 3/4 inch hand size or better. You can find them. Now, if you find an extremely elite athlete that is, you give and take a little bit up and down the river, okay. But I'm not negotiating on arm length and wingspan. That's non-negotiable for me. I hate to use the A word, but Aiden is my case study. Look at him when he locks up against tackles that have long arms and long wing. He can't get off the block. That's why you need long arms as a tackle. That's why you need long arms as an end. You can use any other defensive end that has shorter arms, and I'll say the same damn thing after I watch their film. Hands down. Guarantee it. Pretty sure Will Campbell ended up being a guard this year, right? Did he not? Didn't he turn out to be a guard this year? I think he did. And he was a tackle. And my biggest knock on him was arm length. Arm length, arm length, arm length. And let's see, where's he playing? Is he playing tackle or is he playing guard? Does anybody know? Is he playing tackle or guard? And that's why we need another great edge. Now, see, Andy, look, you know that's where I'm going to disagree with you. You know that's hot button. I'm not going to get on Aiden today. You see, I think people look at it the wrong way. When you say that we need another great edge on the opposite of Aiden, honestly, that's extreme disrespect to Aiden. If you believe that he is the most elite defensive end in the league, or even a top 5, that would be huge disrespect to Aiden. Number one, there's only 2 teams in the league that have an elite or near elite defensive end opposite of the guy that they feel is their elite guy. Myles Garrett doesn't have one. That guy can crush anything because he's got long arms, long wingspan. He's quick. He's muscular. He's smart. He's your guy. He doesn't have anybody elite on the other side. Will Anderson is the only one with Danielle Hunter that really have a combo. And there's one other in the league, and it's just not popping into my head right now. But the reason why I say people are looking at that the wrong way is because if you need somebody on the other side of Aiden to help Aiden work, then that means Aiden's the problem, not the answer. That's just a fact. AQM is playing just as good as Aiden. Matter of fact, he's twice as efficient as Aiden. Twice. He's only had about 400 snaps this year, and his sack to snap ratio and pressure to snap ratio is twice as good as Aiden. He's also double teamed and triple teamed just as much as Aiden. So I just won't go down that road today. Davenport's not our starter. AQM is. Davenport won't be back next year. AQM's a starter. Davenport is a run stuffer. That's what Davenport's always been. He's a run stuffer. He's the big end. There's 2 different style of ends on 4-3 defense. You have your speed end, and then you have your big end. And then you might have a backup that is another speed guy. That then you put in your NASCAR package. You get your speed out there, and you start getting after quarterbacks with speed. James Houston was our other speed guy. Even though he wasn't extremely fast, he was fast off the line. And he could bend. And he could bend underneath you. Cause a lot of havoc. But I think it's disrespectful to say that Aiden needs help, because I think that then you have to look at what the real problem is. The common denominator rule for me is if somebody constantly needs help, then maybe they are the issue. Right? Let me give you an analogy. It'll be Analogy Wednesdays, maybe what it should be. Let's say, because you love racing, right? And I don't know jack shit about F1 racing, but I do know this, and I can apply this rule to anything. You have the same car every week. You have the same driver every week. And let's say you're on the same track with the same conditions every week. Well, one week, Well, let's say that driver always finishes in 10th place every week. And then that driver, let's say he gets sick and he's out for 2 races. And you put in a new driver. And that driver finished in first place. All other conditions are the same. Everything else is the same. What's the common denominator? Driver A was common denominator. He was the problem. Maybe he didn't hit his hole shots fast enough. Maybe he didn't climb out of the turn fast enough. Maybe he got too high. Maybe he wasn't taking it low enough. Maybe he didn't take enough risk. You can apply it to anything. So the common denominator in our case is if we still continue to get the same results, a lot of missed tackles, poor run game defense, but you put somebody else in there, Wheat, Lacey, AQM, and their run defense is great. Common denominator. It's a simple math problem or science problem, however you want to look at it. Maybe the other guy needs help. You can always call in, Andy. I just don't have I don't have calls on at the moment. But yeah, you can call in a moment. So anyway, O-line. Just to finish that up. Look, I think that we are in much better position for next season with our O-line. I think our O-line is going to be great. And I think that if what I see from Brad Holmes' vision, if it's correct, if the vision is correct, then I think that we are in a much better position than what a lot of people are giving Brad Holmes credit for. You look at this roster and you compare it to anybody else, or you look at the draft roster and you compare it to anybody else. Brad is hitting home runs left and right. It's not even close. We've had some big misses. Signing Kirby. If he goes and he plays next year and everything's fine, okay, then this year was just what it is. But if he can't suit up and he can't play, we're right back in the same situation, then the Lions royally F that up. And I don't know that I can put that on Brad, because you have to put it on the information that Brad was getting. Where did that information come from? Brad's not in his office looking at knee reports and MRIs and, you know what I mean? You got doctors hired to do that. You have specialists hired to do that. And if he's basing it on their information, then that's what he's going on. But if Brad said, yeah, I see your knees screwed up, but we're still going to sign you, one, we'll probably never find that out. And two, then you could blame Brad. But you can't blame him wholly for that issue. You can't. I don't see how we could. I think it's totally unfair. Totally unfair. What was the last home run that Brad hit? Well, typically you would grade a draft after 3 seasons. That is the general rule of thumb. You see, what Lions fans love to do is they grade it right now. Why? Because PFF has this thing called a redraft, regrade. And all CBS and NBC and ESPN and 33rd Team and all these other channels and media outlets and analysts. By the way, the analysts that get all the drafts wrong, by the way, those guys have a redraft. Why do you think they started doing a redraft? Well, they started doing a redraft because they all get their drafts wrong. So then they go in and they redraft, and what happens? Well, maybe some of the guys that they picked played better than other guys, and they were just drafted way later. And so that gives them an opportunity to kind of save a little face, right? And then you also get an opportunity to see, well, who were the best players of the year and where maybe should they have been drafted. So they do that, and so that gets in the fans' heads like, oh, we're supposed to evaluate these guys every season and make a determination right now on who that player is going to be. Because if you did that with JMO in year 1, He's not back the next year, is he? Couldn't run a route. Couldn't catch a ball. Right? Wasn't prepared. So if you were to determine J-Mo's career off the first 6 games at the tail end of 2023, or 2022, excuse me, he wasn't it. And if you would have based it on the first half of 2023, he wasn't it. That's why you have to wait for 3 seasons. Kirby Joseph, case study. Remember how Brad came to the mic this last year and he called out the media and he said, you know, you guys all said that Kirby Joseph was last the season before. He said that Kirby Joseph, a lot of you, I think he called out Dave Burkett, said that Kirby Joseph was a bad pick, that Brad missed the boat. And then Kirby turns out to be the best safety in the league in his 3rd season, leads the league in interceptions. There's a reason why you have to wait 2 to 3 seasons. Why? Your first year is typically bad. These players are coming off of playing college. The ones that, you know, played throughout the playoffs, maybe a championship, they're playing, you know, late into the year, and then they got to turn around and do a combine, go through the draft process. They don't get any time off. They're tired. So their first season is usually not their best. Their second season is a good sampling size of who that player is going to be. And then by year 3, it's either you ended up being that player or you didn't. And that's when you evaluate that player after year 3. Every analyst that knows, every analyst that I've learned from will tell you that. No one's grading you today. Of course they are, internally, right? They're looking at what you're doing, but they're not saying, okay, yeah, we totally missed in year 1. Totally, yeah, bad idea. Shouldn't have drafted the dude. You know, because I guarantee you, we can go and look at a lot of players and say that their year 1 was atrocious. And then they took off in year 2 or 3 and became really good football players. Matter of fact, I hate to use Aiden. Aiden led up over 700 yards of rushing in the first 5 games of the season, his rookie year. 700 yards in the first 5 games off of his assignment, his gap. Now, that hasn't changed much, but it's gotten better. What would you have evaluated at that point? Honestly, wouldn't have been a good evaluation, was it? Shouldn't have been, if you can be honest. Brad shouldn't have taken Jahmyr Gibbs in the first round. Remember that? Shouldn't have taken Sam Laporta in the first round or second round. Remember that? Definitely shouldn't have taken Jack Campbell in the first round. All those analysts that are grading you in year 1 said that Brad Holmes totally missed on 2023. And I guarantee you, a lot of you right now that are in this chat are some of the same people that said that Brad totally effed up 2023. While I'm sitting over there laughing because I got the first 4 picks right. Or first 5. Was the first 5 or first 4? Hendon Hooker was the last pick I got right in that draft. So I'm over there laughing, just, you know, counting the money, counting the receipts, and everyone's over there trashing Brad. And now look, Jahmyr Gibbs, probably going to be the best running back, not only out of that class, but will be the best running back in the league. Sam Laporta, if he stays healthy, he's a top 3 tight end in the league. Jack Campbell, he's a top 3 linebacker in the league. You could argue the best. Just those 3 picks right there is enough. I don't care what else happened in that draft. Last thing I'll say about rosters and drafts. Because I saw, you know, what was the last home run? It's a good statement. It's a good question. My question, I'll go back to what I said in the very beginning. Okay? which is this. Jared Goff, Jahmyr Gibbs, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta, Brock Wright, Taylor Decker, Christian Mahogany, Graham Glasgow, Tate Rowledge, Penei Sewell, Frank Ragnow last year, Aiden Hutchinson, Al-Qadim Muhammad, Marcus Davenport, Josh Paschal, Levi Onwuzurike, DJ Reader, Derek Barnes, Jack Campbell, Alex Anzalone, Malcolm Rodriguez, DJ Reed, Rock Ya-Sin, Amik Robertson, Avante Maddox, Kirby Joseph, Brian Branch, Terrion Arnold. Out of those 30-ish players, where was there room in 2024 and 2025 for 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th round draft picks? There's not a whole lot of room. A lot of these players are lucky to even make the roster. They've got to be extremely good football players to even make the roster. If you go in and you get 2 or 3 really good football players and you get out the next, for the rest of the time that these players are on the roster, that's about all you can do. You're going to be able to upgrade maybe 2 or 3 players a season when you have a roster that is this deep. And I didn't even talk about the depth. But that roster is so damn deep. But what's happening is it's deep when they are backups and they're needed to be backups. When all of your backups are starters, or 50% or 2/3 or even 1/3 of your offense and defense are now backups or backups of backups, that's not the way it's supposed to be. But we're still winning football games. We won 15 games last year on 3rd and 4th string football players. The problem is when your offensive line is a mess and you have no secondary, and your secondary is parts and pieces throughout the year, and you have no cohesion, man, those are the 2 worst positions to be bad at. It's really hard to stay consistent and win football games when you're putting all the pressure on the defensive line. But again, that's where I'll point to Exhibit A, Aiden Hutchinson. This is where he's supposed to take over games. He can't do anymore. Jack is consistently banging 10 tackles a game or more. He can't do anymore. You can't ask him to do anymore. And when Brian Branch was in the game, our run game was just fine. But he was also the key to unlock it because guys like Aiden can't tackle. He missed too many tackles. And so teams will run right at him because 2 things happen. He's either taking a wide angle, which opens up the D gap, or he's head up with you and he misses the tackle. You need guys like him to step up. That's what you're expecting. If he's on the field, he has to step up. Aleem McNeil coming back from an injury this year. I keep hearing this one. Aleem McNeil's trash. No, he's not. He's just fine. You know, some players, when they come back from injury, it takes time. If you have been part of this channel now for a while, what do I say about players that come back from a major injury? What did I say about Aiden's season this year? What did I say about Aleem McNeil's season this year? I said that they would be throwaway seasons. Just throw it away. Because whatever they do, good or bad or indifferent, throw it away. Because that's not who they are. Aiden, thankfully, has had he earned a Pro Bowl. I'm not excited about a Pro Bowl. I'm more excited about All Pro because that tells you who you are really as a football player. Pro Bowl, great. You earned some love from your peers and the coaches and the fan base. But I need to see him earning All Pros at this point. If you're going to pay him that kind of money, he needs to be All Pro every year. But this year, throw it away because he is coming back from a major injury. He has played pretty damn good at times, but that's not the real Aiden. Next year, he's going to have to play out of his mind. That'll be the Aiden that we expect, right? And so for Aleem McNeil, it's possible, very likely, he's not feeling himself just yet. Next year, he'll feel better. Next year, he should play better. but it's not like he's playing terribly. He's not supposed to be a sack guy. I get it. You look around the league and you see other defensive tackles that are getting sacks, this, that, and the other thing. How many of them are getting sacks and at a high level, right? Okay, so Andy, that's problem number one. Why did they pay him? Because he was playing at an extremely high level. And then he got injured. You have been watching the games, right? He was playing at an extremely high level last year. And then he got injured. Literally like 2 or 3 weeks later. I think we signed him in during the trade deadline. And then he got injured in the Bills game. Like week 15. So 4 or 5 weeks later. So that's why. I mean, that's why it looks worse than what it is. You know what I'm saying? Or if you're talking about Aiden, well, I think we know the answers to why they paid Aiden. They got a great deal, right? Comparatively to what the market was and what Parsons just signed and what Garrett signed and others, that was a good deal. And if you look at how the contract is laid out, it's not all guaranteed at signing. It's not all guaranteed. Like where other players are getting a large guarantee at signing, Hutch is getting parts and pieces every year, guaranteed. So that was done intentionally so they could walk away from the contract if they felt they needed to and not lose their ass. That's why. Oh, my bad. I'm over here talking. Well, maybe you didn't want to hear that anyway. You don't want me to sound off Lava Desert. Yeah, so back to what I was saying. I missed a couple of things, or you probably missed a couple of things. I don't know what the last thing is you heard, but I'll just move on. I'll move on. It's probably not even recorded either, so I can't come back and say it. Just make sure you hit live on your phone or device or whatever it was. 3 minutes? No, couldn't be 3 minutes. All right, so what's the last thing you heard? I was talking a bunch of trash about Aiden. Just kidding. Just kidding. It kind of was. No, not really. Do you remember the last thing you heard? Here, let me go back and listen. All right, we'll just move forward. Oh, Aiden contract. That's the last thing you heard. Oh my God, yeah. There was a lot said. There was a lot said. Briefly, I guess what I was saying is, there was the reason why we signed Aiden, my opinion, is they got a good deal on it. And Aiden's contract is not fully guaranteed up front like some of the other players were. His contract is guaranteed in parts and pieces. So every year at specific times, he's getting more of his contract guaranteed, which means that the Lions can walk away from it and not lose their ass, right? So they could walk. I think when I looked at it, 2027 was a year that they could walk away and not lose a ton of money. As opposed to other guys, right? You can't do that because they're going to lose a shit ton of money if they walk away from Parsons, the way that contract was put together. So you might have gotten more guaranteed money, but it's the way that it's guaranteed, which was different. That's why Aiden got a really low signing bonus, if you will, compared to how much was guaranteed. What else I was saying in there was like sacks. Someone brought up sacks, and the Aiden was getting double-digit sacks even on a down year after injuries. And so my comment there was, I said, well, I'll go back and I'll just point to what Raw B said, that most fans watch what happens, not how it happens. And I was saying, like, even in this most recent game, one sack, he's coming around the end, and it's 3.65 seconds from time of snap to sack. I'm not impressed with that. Under 3 seconds, I'm impressed. Under 2.5 seconds, you're elite. Right? That's the difference in the NFL. If you can get to the quarterback, and even under 2.6 seconds, you're an elite defensive end. Now, 15, 20 years ago, right? The Reggie Whites, the J.J. Watts, there's a litany of other guys that I could probably talk about, but those guys would get to the quarterback quickly, right? In today's world, we have not just 3 different ways of pressure. Now there's 20 different ways of pressure, and that's because they're selling you analytics, they're selling you stats, because they're selling you fantasy football. That's why. They're not talking about real football anymore. They're talking about fantasy football. For me, real football will never change. Under 2.5 seconds of time to sack on a quarterback, that is the measurement for an elite football player. Anything over that, 2.75 seconds for me is the next bar. And then anything over 3 seconds, I don't know what we're talking about. All right, those are going to be high coverage sacks. And that means that the guys downfield are doing a good job. See, when we don't have corners and safeties in the game that can stick and do their job, the ball's going to come out much quicker. That's why getting a sack under 2.75 at least, but 2.6 typically is where you need your defensive ends to be. But Ada doesn't get there that quick. Very, very rarely does he get there that quick. So, and on some of those sacks, just to kind of piggyback off of that, they were taking half a sacks away from Alex Anzalone and giving Aiden a full sack when they sacked him at the same time. And yes, I've already showed everybody the film and the tape on that. You can't argue it. And even in this most recent game, Aiden 3.65 seconds, but you had Anzo right in front of Rodgers' face. And I think we had a safety, might have been Harper or someone right behind him. So either way, that Aaron Rodgers was going down. But Anzo pushed Rodgers or froze Rodgers for Aiden to get him. So if Aiden wasn't there, he was going down at the same time, is all I was trying to say. And it's nothing more than just to kind of share what happened. And to kind of go back to what Ross said, fans watch what happens, not how it happens. And I think that there's more to that, like watching exactly how these plays go down versus just the ending of the play. You watch the highlight and you watch, the pass is already in the air and the receiver catches it in the end zone for a touchdown. Oh my God, that's the best wide receiver in the game. Did you see that catch? But what you didn't watch is how the left tackle, took care of 2 players, and the right tackle took care of 2 players, and the center and the guard, we're pulling back and chipping guys, and maybe the DB made an incredible block. You know what I'm saying? You didn't see any of that. Or maybe you didn't see how the other wide receiver came clipping across the field and took the safety off the top, and they followed that wide receiver and they left the other one wide open. All you saw was that player got wide open and he caught a pass or a touchdown. But you didn't see how it happened. That's why film is so important. It really is. Let's see. And then so the other thing too is Aiden's matchup this last weekend. What did they say? I forget the guy's name that was in there, but he was a 4th string tackle. If I'm not mistaken, was that this weekend too, or this past game? What I will say is this, man. Our schedule this year for the birds. These games, on days 3 or 4 of rest, back to back, it seems like. Yeah, we had one bye in there that was, mini bye that was 10 days off, but 3 games in 11 days. And then that bye, and then you have 2 games again in 4 days. Like that's just BS. Our guys have been up against it. So we can't blame everything on Dan. We can't blame everything on the players. I do think that we need to put some of the blame on the NFL too, that not only do we have the hardest schedule in the league, but then we have no rest. None. Yeah, at least some of the games were at home, or, we had the shortest distance of travel this season. But there is something to not having any days off, right? Not being able to fully rest your body. Because maybe on day 5, maybe that's when your body really starts to feel better. But day 3, day 4, and you're already right back into it. It's not easy. It's not easy. Not easy. TJ Lang, I think I already kind of discussed that, but let's go to Dan Campbell. Maybe once I figure out where all my stuff is. Oh, that's not it either. There he is. There's Dan. 97 won the ticket. I got to rest my voice for a minute. Let's listen to these guys.
Good morning, Dan. Merry Christmas. How are you?
Morning, Dan.
Yeah, good morning. Merry Christmas to you guys.
We were just, before we get into some football, we were talking that Jared Goff, as you know, got tricked out golf carts for all his offensive linemen. When you were a player, or maybe even in your earlier coaching days, did players ever give you anything cool, or did you ever give anything to any of your teammates that was cool?
I got some coolest thing. I got a 4-wheeler one time when I was down in Miami. My guys gave me one of those, which was awesome. I actually got to my house late at night. We were getting ready for the game, so I didn't get home till midnight. It was in our driveway. Had a bow on it. I couldn't believe it. And they had all signed it, and it was a picture of them. We played New England the week before, and all 4 of them were in the game, and they made a crucial play. Anyway, it was awesome. It was a picture of them. They signed it, and they put it on the 4-wheeler.
So you show up at midnight. That's there. You got to take it for a quick spin, don't you?
Absolutely. It was awesome, man. And back where we were at, we had a golf course in the back, so I took it out there. It was good. It was good.
Yeah, midnight donuts, man.
Yeah.
Not to go back too much on what happened Sunday. And talking to the fans and myself as well, there's 2 things I wanted to ask you about. I don't want to get into the officiating. Not kicking the field goal early in the game, and at the end of the game when you had 4th and 1 with the timeout, not running the ball, at least, especially on first down. Can you talk about those decisions?
Yeah, no, I don't regret that. I don't regret that. I'm going to go for that 100 out of 100 times where we were at. I'm always going to wish that I would have had a better call, when it doesn't work out. That's just me, but no, I don't regret making the decision to go for it. And then, what was your second one there at the end?
When it was first and goal from the one with like that 25 seconds left with you had a timeout, I kind of thought maybe, and some people thought maybe put Demo in and try to run the ball once, and then if you didn't get it, then use your timeout and then have three throws for the end zone.
Yeah, I mean that crossed my mind. But chose to put it in Goff's hands, and we threw it to Saint and scored. It didn't work out.
Yeah.
No, and obviously, I mean, a lot's been made of the lack of the rushing attack. What were some of the struggles you had or the team had in being able to rush the ball against the Steelers?
Yeah, we just had a lot of negative runs early. Whether it was we just took turns. One guy here, we don't sustain. We had one where we weren't targeted, weren't all on the same page. There was two calls that I didn't love because, one of them we get run down on the backside. Demo has no shot to get away from that. So I don't love that. That's a scheme deal there. So we all had a hand in it, and the problem is not so much that you don't run the ball great, because sometimes that's what happens in early games. It takes a while to get into it. But when you have as many zero gains or negative runs that early, that's really what they were. That's really what they were. The first, call it, Demo rattled off a 17-yarder on play 4, but we really had 0 yards, 2 yards, 0, 1, -3, -2, -1. It just gets hard, and at some point, you're going to try to get it in the hands of Saint and J-Mo and Gibbs in the pass game, if you don't feel like you're making hay in the run.
I'm done with subscriptions. Streaming, fitness, razors, pre-made apps.
Casino, let 1,000 free spin.
Touchdown in the game, but it's comfort terms.
The grit thing has been built basically from the offensive line and even a little bit for the defensive line in. And, the games you've lost, the 7 games you've been outrushed, I think almost 990 to 487. Is there something that, I don't know if the identity is the right word, or where you guys are not controlling the line of scrimmages on both sides of the ball? Is there a reason for that you can put your finger on? And is that accurate?
Yeah, look, I think you can't argue the fact that we're not winning the rushing attack. That's you can see that, especially over the last 2 weeks. It's right there to look at. So that's what we do know is we're not winning. I don't think it's from a lack of toughness. I don't think it's from a lack of effort. I don't feel like we're getting pushed around. I feel like it's more of, we're taking turns not doing our job, and when you have one guy, like you can fit everything perfect on defense, and if one guy's not where he's supposed to be, we get gutted. And then look, we missed a couple of tackles too, like the other day, that cost us. And so some of it's like, oh man, the D line, the linebacker. Well, that's not always the case. Those 6 guys are fitting it right, and we have one guy that's not, or vice versa. Maybe it is. Maybe we have somebody that's not quite fitting it the way they should. So, we can go round and round on it. I don't feel like it's one of those issues like, oh man, we're getting shoved around. We're just not. We have no margin for error. And man, if we don't do everything perfect, it makes it tough. It's really tough on us right now. So it requires everybody being on point, is disciplined, and is urgent to do their job as they can. Because if one guy gets out of position, it's tough on us.
This is a position you guys haven't been in a couple of years, fighting for your playoff lives, and it's not in your control. You got to win out, and you also have to have help from other teams. What's the message to the team about preparing for this game and preparing to go to Minnesota for a team that beat you, at Ford Field earlier in the season?
Yeah, man, there's nothing we can do but go back to work, man. like we have to prepare for this opponent on a short week. I mean, we came in, we got our base game plan in yesterday. Nothing's going to be live. But you give them the things that you think they're good at and what we think will work against these guys. We got to be able to solve a lot of issues once we get up there in real time during the game. But you just worry about what's in front of you right now, and nobody feels sorry for us. Nobody cares. We gotta prepare to play. These guys got to get rested up. They got to digest this game plan, and then they got to emotionally, physically, mentally prepare in 2 days to go out there to Minnesota in a hostile environment and play some of our best football to win this game.
How tough is it? I don't know if fair is the right word, and I know you would never bellyache about it, but is it kind of, I don't know, unfair that you guys have to play Thanksgiving and Christmas?
No, I mean, that's
short weeks.
Yeah. That's the world we're in now. I mean, that's what we're charged with. I mean, look, last year we were coming off the last game of the year to get ready to play Minnesota. We traveled to San Francisco on a Monday night, and that was that was tough too. So that's all stuff that is it's part of it, and that's where they put us on the schedule, and it's our job to adapt and be prepared.
I know that obviously you guys have injuries, Minnesota has injuries, so it's not the same team that's matching up that you guys matched up earlier in the year, but what needs to happen differently this time against Minnesota to come away with a win?
Well, we can't turn the ball over, that we can't turn the ball over, and we did a number of things in the first go-around. I mean, we did everything wrong at the most critical times you could do. Really, defensively, we played some pretty good football, but then we made a couple of critical errors at the worst time. And then, we had field goal blocked. We turned the ball over coming out. We gave up multiple sacks, quarterback hits. I mean, so, man, we got to play good old boring football, man. Just schematically on point. It may not be flashy, but we just got to do what we got to do here to not make mistakes and take this to the end of the game, find a way to win it.
How did some of your reserves who had to play because of injuries and start for, I think, the first time, Agaquan at center, and even Ferkser, who had a pretty good game?
Yeah, I thought they did a good job. I mean, I thought Kingsley really was really encouraging to see what he was able to do. He was ready to go. He went in there, he competed, was really on point all day, with the mic points and all that and getting everybody lined up. And, man, he finished. You talk about, I mean, he played hard. He's a finisher. And so I was encouraged by him. And Ferk, once again, man, he's a crafty veteran guy. Just when you call his number, that's what he does. He makes plays. So I'm glad he's here. Those guys did a good job. Maddox, that was his second start, but he just stepped in, man. He's a football player. He did a great job for us too.
Well, besides a win, is there anything you hope Santa Claus brings you?
No. I'm just a win. That'll be enough.
All right, Dan. Thanks a lot. Merry Christmas to you and the family and the team, and talk to you next week.
All right, you guys too. Talk to you later.
It's Lions coach Dan Campbell here on 97.
Okay, there really wasn't a whole lot in this that I really wanted to touch on because we've heard it over and over and over, right? It's kind of been the same issue week to week to week to week. However, there is something that Dan is saying here that I don't think that we're picking up on, or I don't think that maybe a lot of fans are picking up on. And so I caught it where he says that we have to be perfect. Why do you think that Dan Campbell said that we have to be perfect? Well, let me end the poll on our defense here. I asked the question, if the Lions, apparently I can't spell today, but if the Lions stayed healthy, how great are they right now? And 43% of you believe that the Lions would be top 5. And the reason why I bring this up, and the reason why I wanted this poll specifically, is because during training camp, I went to the first day And I'm like, this is a top 5 defense. We will be a top 5 defense. Caveat, have to stay healthy. We were a top 5 defense through week 8. Since week 8, we have not been. But anything but. The difference, injuries. It's not scheme. It's injuries. Because when Kirby Joseph is back there, when Brian Branch is on the field, when Terry and Arnold was on the field, and DJ Reed on the field together, that was giving our defensive line enough time to do their thing. Because nobody on our defensive line is able to win in under 3 seconds, apparently. So they need time. And that's what they gave them. The difference is injury. I don't know how to make it any more clear than that. Okay, so here's what Dan Campbell is saying, and I think that we're missing it. Like I said, I think Lions fans are missing it. Why would the margin of error be so low? Why do we have to be perfect? Why is that? And why is it that we have one guy that is constantly not fitting it right, to use Dan's words? If we have just one guy that's not fitting it right, it blows the whole thing up. That could be offense or defense. But why is it that we need to be perfect? And there's something else that I want to add to this. Now that more of it's popping into my head. I guess I am going 3 hours today. Only been up since 2 a.m. Here's why. Not the refs. Not the refs. But I get you there. Honestly, that could be part of it. Here's why. We have no margin for error. The Lions needed to be perfect because we don't have the same style of football players out there. Right? We didn't have Graham Glasgow. And even when Graham Glasgow's in, we don't have Frank Ragnow. So those guys have to play perfect football because even a mistake by Frank Ragnow, he can usually make up for it. But a mistake by multiple guys, we don't have enough guys that are that good right now that can make up for it. You're also dealing with an offensive line that is nowhere near where it was last season, quality-wise, because of injuries and a retirement. So they have to play perfect football. That's why. And when you have one guy that is missing an assignment, you have one guy that is missing a blocking assignment, that pulls everything else, out of coordination, if you will, or out of alignment. Screws it all up. That's it's like looking at a black and white painting and someone just put a green dot in the middle of it. Why would you do that? Everyone's going to look at the green dot. And they're not going to look at the rest of the painting. And that's like the one guy on the offensive line that's screwing something up. He's not sliding right or left, depending on which way he needs to go. He's not picking up the right assignment. Maybe he's not getting to the second level in the at the right time. Who knows? Maybe he's not selling it good enough. But here's the other thing. Have we, and I know we're really late in the season to where this shouldn't have been as big of a problem, but have we ever given Dan Campbell and this offense and offensive line any credit whatsoever for the fact that they had to implement a brand new offense this year? Now, I know what you're going to say, Will. Hold on. They said they weren't changing anything. Johnny Moe said he wasn't changing anything, that they were still going to be explosive, even more explosive. We've been anything but explosive at times. It's been dinking and dunking it around. But when you have to install an entirely new offensive scheme, or at least verbiage, that's not easy. You've been running the same stuff every year. Ben Johnson would flip, the language a little bit, but these guys already understood the language, right? They already knew what the plays were. They knew how to run the plays. And so when you go up to run that play, they already know what they're doing. But now these guys, have rookies that have to learn it. And then you got the other guys that not only have I don't know why it's turned off. There we go. Now you should be back on. I have no idea how that got muted. That's just awkward. That's weird. That's just awkward. That's weird. All right. Well, at least we can hear me now. I don't know what you missed, but I guess I'll just go back on what I was saying. The reason why the Lions had to be perfect is because changing everything up, going from Ben Johnson to new offensive scheme, new offensive play calls, right? New language, new guys on the offensive line, new guys calling the plays, and then, or a new guy calling the plays, and then Dan Campbell taking it over. So you're going to have some miscommunications. You're going to have some issues, right? You will. And for whatever reason, they're just not figuring it out. They're just not able to go from week to week to week to week to week without having issues. But I think more importantly, when you're going up against like this Pittsburgh defense, I told y'all, it was a very, very, very good defensive front. I don't care what their rankings were. That's just part of the story. I don't care. I especially don't care if it's PFF. That's just part of the story. Watch the film. Right? What I noticed in like what I put up the other day on Here, let me go to it. I'm pretty sure I put it in the post section of the channel. I did. The defensive pass rush. So this thing that is, oh, you can't see that. This thing that is on Next Gen Stats. When you look at average separation from the quarterback when the quarterback throws the football, Cameron Hayward was at 4.25 yards. League average 4.58. That means he's able to get in. That means he's wreaking havoc on every play because it's averaged over the entire game. Jack Sawyer, who got his real first snaps of the season and a lot more snaps of than he had all season, played incredibly well. He had like the first 2 or 3 tackles of the game. He was at 4.67, so he was just 9/100ths off the league average. Alex Highsmith was under the league average at 4.48. Derek Harmon, the big interior DT, was at 5.03, so a lot less. And when you compare it to the Lions, we hear DJ Reader sucks, right? No, he doesn't. DJ Reader compared to Cameron Hayward, a half a second faster. Or I'm sorry, half a yard closer. DJ Reader was 3.7 yards away from Aaron Rodgers compared to Cameron Hayward's 4.25. But you know what? The Pittsburgh Steelers were able to get knockback that, for whatever reason, was more impactful than what the Lions were able to do. Ali McNeil, 4.3 yards. Better than the league average. Al-Qadim Muhammad, 4.55. Aiden Hutchinson, 4.56. So Aiden just barely under the league average. El-Qadim better than Aiden by 1/100th of a yard. Or not 1/100th. You know what I'm saying. El-Qadim Muhammad under the league average. And DJ Reader, the best of all of them. The best of all of them. It's in the post section of the YouTube. Someone brought up pass rush win rates, so I brought it up. We might as well talk about it for a moment. We talk about guys that are getting Pro Bowls or All Pros or whatever, right? A guy that was out of the game, that if he was in the game, he would have completely wrecked this game even worse for us against the Steelers. Nick Herbig is number 1 in the league right now with edge pass rush win rate rankings according to ESPN. Number 1. His pass rush win rate, 26%. And then the next, I'll just go through all the names. Will Anderson, Micah Parsons, Nick Bonito, Myles Garrett's number 5, Josh Sweat, Boye Mafe, Abdul Carter, Odafe Owe, Bryce Huff at number 10, Brian Burns, James Pierce, Max Crosby, Yaya Diaby, Daniil Hunter, DeMarcus Lawrence, Josh Hines-Allen, Aiden Hutchinson at number 18, George Karlaftis, Kyle Van Noy at number 20. Defensive tackle pass rush win rate rankings. Here we go. Chris Jones, Jeffrey Simmons, Calais Campbell, Kobe Turner, Poona Ford at number 5. Quinnen Williams, DeForest Buckner, Osa Odigwaza, Christian Barmore, Braden Fisk at number 10. David Onamayata, John Franklin Myers, Byron Murphy, Moro Ojimo, Ali McNeil, number 15. Keanu Benton, Carl Brooks, Zach Allen, Eric Armstead, Kenny Clark at number 20. What's crazy is the 3 guys outside of the other guys that I worked up, the 3 guys that I wanted Brad Holmes to take, any one of them. Kobe Turner's number 4. Where's my other guy at? Carl Brooks, number 17. And I know he's in here. I just saw his name. Oh, Byron Murphy, number 13. I also liked Moro Ojimo at number 14, but he was a little bit lower for me. So those three guys, Byron Murphy, Carl Brooks, Kobe Turner. I wanted Brad to get any one of those guys, and Will McDonald was high on my list too. But Will McDonald went way early. You had a shot at getting one of those guys. However, we would have given up some other guys. All right? A reaction has a reaction, or an equal and opposite reaction, right? Offensive tackle, pass, block, win rates. I'm going to skip everybody and just say what Lions are on it. And that answer is nobody. But when you're looking at potential free agents next year, this is a list that I would look at. Right? Who are the potential free agents out of this? Who's going to be available? Because this is where I want the name to come from. Interior offensive line, pass block, win rate, rankings. Top 20. None of your Lions are ranked. Edge, run stop, win rate, rankings, top 10. Aiden Hutchinson's not on the list. Defensive tackle, run stop, win rate, rankings. No Detroit Lions on the list. Offensive tackle, run block, win rate, rankings. No Detroit Lions on the list. Interior offensive line, run block, win rate, rankings. Again, no Detroit Lions on the list. NFL team, win rate, rankings. As a team, the Detroit Lions are 27th in pass rush, win rate, rankings. 27th at 31%. Run stop, win rate, rankings. As a team, your Detroit Lions are 30th right now. Pass block, we are 27th, and run block, we are 24th. If you go back and look at 2024, those numbers are all in the top 10, probably minus pass rush. And run stop was still high, but pass rush wouldn't have been. Still good with pressure, but not win rates. Win rates are key, right? So when you get one-on-one, how are you winning that rep? And Aiden is doubled around 43%, which means roughly 60% of the time he's singled up. Why are our numbers not higher? And I think there's a direct correlation. This is not Aiden hate. This is Aiden truth. I think there's a direct correlation with every edge rusher. I don't care who they play for. If you look at the sum of the schedule that they have and the style of offensive tackles that they go up against, we're going up against some of the best teams in the league this year, some of the best offensive tackles in the league this year, and the numbers are lower. When we go up against easier schedules, third, fourth string offensive tackles, numbers are higher. That's not an excuse. It's not a mistake. It's not hate. It's a fact. It should be a fact for every team. Because if it's not, and you're not beating up the guys that are lower on the totem pole, then you got real problems. Even worse than what we already have. It's just a fact. What I would like to see next season is I want to see, and I'm not saying this year's over. I mean, it pretty much is, but it's not yet, technically. What I want to see next year is I want to see our guys beat the number ones consistently. That's what I want to see. And for 4 seasons, if we're not getting it out of Aiden, if we're not getting it out of the other side, if we're not getting it, from other guys, then you got to make some changes, whether schematically or otherwise. If injuries are going to continue to be a problem, then you're going to have to make some changes. Maybe we need to go more 3-4. Lighten the load a little bit. Spread more guys out. Put 4 linebackers on the field. Do something. Don't just keep banging your head against the wall if it's not working. Right? The definition of insanity. You guys know it. Finish my words. You know the definition. Okay, I'll say it. It's doing the same thing over and over and over again and getting the same results. That's what it is. That's...
You fucking crazy, man. You sound insane. Do you realize that?
That's what it is. That's what it is. What else do we have on the list today? Oh, yeah, we were supposed to talk about a game. I'll open up phone lines right now. I should have done it a long time ago. Let me get it open. In case anyone does feel like calling. I'll try not to mute you. I don't know why that kept happening. I probably touched my keyboard. I know Heather's been trying to call in. Keep missing or calling at the wrong time. Haven't heard from her in a couple weeks. All right, if you still feel like calling in, phone line is open. Should be good to go. Guys, everybody has a plan until you get punched in the mouth. I love that one. I love that one. Crazy Clown says, man, I hope the Pistons never lose 2 in a row. I don't want them to have to go through what the Lions and Tigers go through with the, quote, I will get mad if you don't do everything my way fan. Yeah, that's hilarious, too. Look, we got a lot of talking heads. I'm no different, than the talking heads out there. But where I try to be different is the truth, the transparency, and the honesty. It's never hate. Look, I don't have hate in my body. I don't. Look, there's a lot of people out there that have done me wrong. There's a lot of people out there that have pissed me off. There's a lot of people out there that talk trash and say untrue things. I don't hate them. Right? I was raised differently. I'll never hate anybody. That's the difference between me and others, I guess. It's just being able to have a constructive, conversation about fact and truth, and my eyes don't lie, and I know yours shouldn't either. And that's why I try to show film as much as I can, or images as much as I can, because if I can't tell you and you believe it based on what my eyes saw, then I need to show you and then tell you. And you know what's hilarious? People will still say it's not true. That will get me every time. Every time. Raw, I hear you. I see you calling. You're supposed to be on. Say something. See, I don't hear you. Hold on, buddy. See, something's not right. Something happened on the back end, I think, this morning. Let me see if I can fix it real quick. Rog, hang up. Give me 2 seconds. I'll have you call back, okay? Let me just get rid of this. Let's test it. All right, there we go. Go ahead, Raw. I got it fixed. Oh, I love it, Attila. He says, ate breakfast, reading over the chat. It's funny how a lot of people's views are regurgitated talking points of radio and YouTube hosts who rage bait instead of discussing things based on reason and facts. Appreciate it, Attila. That's what we try to do. Well, I don't like to regurgitate. That's just not what I'm about. Anyway, Raw B, go ahead and call in, man. Yeah, I got it fixed. And I could call you back, but I don't want to do that. I don't think I missed any calls, did I? There it is. All right, good morning, Rob, man. Merry Christmas.
Good morning.
There he is. Merry Christmas, man. How are you?
Hello.
Can you hear me? Uh-oh.
Same thing, no audio.
What in the world is
Can't hear
going on? Hold on. Hold the phone. Gotta be kidding me. One second. Check one other thing. It's not even showing up. This PC has a mind of its own. All right, well, while I'm getting this fixed, let me just go over a couple of things real quick. Let's get to the injury report. Latest and greatest. Raw, give me a few moments. Sorry to tie you up. Let's get through this injury report real quick. And you know, things got a little better for us, maybe. Maybe. We'll see. All right, here we go. Direct from the NFL media injury report. This is what they send me every day. Last night's practice. Tristan Colon was limited. As you can see, Davenport, Taylor Decker, Tom Kennedy, Christian Mahogany, Giovanni Manu, Ali McNeil, Al Kadim Muhammad, Amik Robertson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, all limited. David Montgomery did not participate because he is sick. Graham Glasgow, full participant, so he should be back in at center for this game versus the Vikings. So not terrible. All right, then here's the Vikings. TJ Hawkinson did not participate. He's likely out. Ryan Kelly, concussion, he's likely out. Jordan Mason, JJ McCarthy. We know McCarthy was finally designated to be out yesterday afternoon, probably around 4 p.m. So he's out. Eric Wilson, Brian O'Neill, both those guys limited. Austin Keys, linebacker, he'll be good to go. Aaron Jones, running back, ankle, limited, he'll be likely to go. John Hargrave, defensive tackle, limited, he'll be likely to go. And then Bartholomew and Chandler, both full participants, they'll be good to go. So the Vikings will be out without a couple of key players. Hawkinson, Kelly, Mason, and McCarthy, for sure. The way I understand it, are good to go. Are not good to go. They will be out this game. So not great for them, but fairly decent for us. Lions fairly healthy comparatively. I mean, from where we've been, right? Injuries have kind of been piling up for the Vikings. Some players are kind of making progress in their returns, or they have returned altogether. But as far as Tuesday's practice, like I said, they're going to be without a few players, and the Lions could be without David Montgomery. It is just crazy to me yesterday that we started seeing all this crap flying around. And when I saw the picture, when Eric shared that picture with me yesterday, I was kind of trying to dig through it too. Like, is he shelved for the season? Is he shelved for the, like, what's going on? And I don't know where all we took that conversation, but I think, a lot of fans started to go down that rabbit hole already. Is David going to be gone next year? And why? And, the Lions need to keep him. And I don't know. I would say that at his age and time in the league, and I love who he is. I love everything about Monty and his ability, but what is that contract going to be? You know, how much is he really going to need or want to get paid? And I think that is going to have a lot to do with it, whether or not he's back. Because I don't think that you could say that David Montgomery doesn't deserve to be back. I don't think that we could ever say that David Montgomery is not good enough. I couldn't say that ever. I think it's contract is where. Here you go. I found the issue. The contract is going to be the reason. So it's either he wants to come back for a year and play it on not, I hate to call it a prove it deal. I call them contender deals. That is a term that I made up. It's a contender deal. And I think that the contender deal for David Montgomery would be in play next year, which is a 1-year deal. And that's for him to come back and contend for a championship with the Lions one more time. And then after that, he'll be done in Detroit, depending if we win or if we lose. If we win, he'll be back. If we lose, he'll be gone. So a contender deal for David Montgomery is what I'm hoping for next year. But I don't see the Lions signing him to a long-term deal. We need one more test here. All right, that one's good. And that one's good. All right, try again, Raw. I think we're okay now. I hope. While we're waiting for him, he still has time to call in. Oh, there he is. That was quick. All right, can you hear me now?
Hello?
Yeah, can you hear me now or no?
I cannot hear you, sir.
Well, that sucks. Why don't you just go ahead and say whatever you got to say? Check.
I have no audio from you on this thing.
I don't know why. That's weird.
Can anybody in the chat hear me?
Yeah, I'm sure they could. Hold on.
1 for yes, 2 for no. Hello?
All right, I don't know what's going on. We can hear him. But he can't hear me. That's never supposed to happen. Let me check this one more time. I really hate Microsoft. Yeah, Heather, sorry, we got audio issues right now. Hold on. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back. I gotta do something on the back end to see if I can't fix this. Check, 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 check. It's not picking it up. Check, 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 check. Check, 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 check. Check, 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 check.
Hello?
All right, Robbie, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. Sorry.
You called me back. Oh, my Lord.
Yeah, I don't like calling people back because I never know what you're into. You know, someone could be at work and, you never know.
No.
Anyway, as long as, let me just double check people can hear us on the backside, and then we should be good to go.
I usually load up the comments here so I can see what people are saying while I'm talking.
It's not always a good thing.
I usually get pretty good feedback, and I'm never one to avoid a confrontation. So if somebody's got something to say to me, you can say it. We can have a debate.
There you go. All right, I think we're all good finally. What's on your mind, man?
Just there are a few things that you touched on that I kind of want to reiterate, and I hate to sound like a broken record, but you're not wrong. Like if the secondary that we have playing on the field is depth pieces and not starters aside from me, like the coverage breaks down quicker. It's not like they're playing against 2s and 3s for wide receivers like in preseason. They're playing against 1s and 2s like starters. Some of these guys are extremely elite at what they do, whether it's route running, contested catches, like jump balls. Like they're playing against some of the best players to ever do it against, and these are quality depth pieces, not starters, that have to compete against these guys. So if these guys can't stay in coverage long enough, that the pass rush ain't going to get home in time. So there's that aspect of the game where the pass rush versus the coverage has to work hand in hand.
Yeah.
The whole thing about David Montgomery, I don't see him sticking around after this season, even if he was offered a little bit of money. I thought he still had 2 more years on his contract. I thought he signed an extended deal last year. Maybe I'm wrong.
You know what? I'll look it up while you're talking.
I think he got like $8 million a year for a 3-year deal at the start of last season. So this would be.
No, yeah, you're right.
Like
we did talk about this. Yeah, you're right.
That extension.
Yeah, we talked about this the other day. He is getting like $8.5 million next year.
Yes.
Yeah,
so
which is
he's here, but I don't think he wants to be here. Like he's a quality starting running back. He'd probably start on 18 other teams, maybe 20 other teams in the NFL, and we're using him as like a supplement backup running back. Like that's not what he wants. He wants to be on the field. He wants to earn his bread. So I don't think he wants to stick around. I think maybe Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes can convince him to stick around. But I think the whole offensive struggles, although we've had a bruised and battered O-line, revolve around Johnny Morton.
Yeah.
Like, you got Dan Campbell calling the plays, right? Well, that's just on the surface. Like, we still have Johnny Morton putting together the game plan.
You know what?
Dan
That's a big key.
When he wants to call the plays.
So I didn't mean to interrupt you, but hold on. That's a huge key. That is something I totally forgot to talk about after the Dan Campbell on 97 won the ticket segment, because he said that he didn't like some of the calls there, and that triggered my brain. Like, what do you mean you didn't like some of the calls there? Aren't you the one calling the plays? So that's a very key point, Rob. Explain why.
He may be calling the plays.
Yeah, but explain why he's getting fed calls, though. He's getting fed information and what everyone else is feeding him, he's trying to use some of that as a collective, right? And collecting the information from everybody. What do you see here? What do you see here? What do you think here? What do you think there? And then he's trying to make the best decision. But with Johnny Moe making the game plan and doing all the film review, he has to report to Dan and say, "This is what I see." So
Exactly.
explain why
And-
that's
and-
difficult.
Well, because when you have somebody other than yourself, like Dan Campbell's a busy man. He's the head coach.
Right.
So he's got to look after the offense, the defense, the special teams. He's got to look after the practice squad. He's got to look at player personnel trainers and everything like that. He's got a lot on his plate. So, yes, Johnny Morton is reviewing opposing defenses. He's putting together plays. He's putting together a collective of plays and arranging personnel and setting up what he constructs as the game plan for the next game. And then he feeds Dan Campbell's 75 plays and say, we run this and this and this together. We run this and this and that together. We set up defenses like this, and we set up the pass rush like this. We set up the secondary like this. And he constructs how we want to attack the opposing defenses. And then he gives Dan Campbell those sets of plays. And Dan Campbell decides, okay, I like this, I don't like this, I like this, I don't like that. And Dan Campbell's picking the plays, but out of the plays he's picking, he's only getting like 4 or 5 different plays to call on in any given situation to orchestrate his offense. And that's all filtered through Johnny Morton. The reason why we're not using David Montgomery right now is because of Johnny Morton.
Yeah.
He sees all flash, all dash with Jahmyr Gibbs, and I understand the aspect. You give one of the fastest running backs the ball in football, typically you're going to have success.
Right.
But that's not what this team was designed for. That's not what our culture is. We've lost our grit. We've lost our identity. We've lost our culture. This team was a battering ram. It didn't matter if teams stacked the box, had 6 D linemen on the field, or 5 D linemen, and played a 5-2 on us with 2 linebackers, with 2 safeties behind and 2 corners on the field. It didn't matter. We were running through that, getting 5 to 6 yards. We're not doing that. We've completely walked away from the aspect of bending defenses to our will. And we did that with Montgomery. We took Montgomery. We ran Montgomery on the field for 4 or 5 plays. We took him off. We put Gibbs on the field for 2 or 3 plays. Out of those 2 or 3 plays, Gibbs is running for 30, 40 yards. We take Gibbs off the field. We put Montgomery back on the field. We run another 3 or 4 plays with Montgomery. We take him off the field. We put Gibbs on the field. He scores a TD. The next drive, the exact same thing. We run Montgomery for 3 or 4 plays. We put Gibbs on the field for 2 or 3 plays. Gibbs breaks another long run. We take Gibbs off. We put Montgomery back out there, run him for 3 or 4 plays. He keeps the chains moving. He's moving the ball down the field. It's Gibbs who comes in to supplement Montgomery, and Gibbs hits the home run. Gibbs gets the glory. Gibbs gets the stature.
So I have a
What
question.
people fail to realize is that Montgomery is the one that is the battering. That's what Detroit is. That's our
ask
identity.
you. No, you're good. Let me ask you a question real quick. Because I think Trace has a good point too. Like, when you say we lost the grid and we've kind of lost our identity. Like, I don't believe we really lost it either. And like Trace kind of says that too. Like, she doesn't believe that they've lost it, more so that it's just not prevalent like it was, previously. Like, it's kind of on hold because, maybe we're in this funk right now. We've got, Johnny Moe that kind of screwed everything up. If people want to believe that he's kind of the root problem that changed things too much or got away from things that were working. And then you have to factor in, the issues that we have on the offensive line. So is it lost it? or it's just on hold temporarily until we get back to the type of players that we need to do the job that we expect these players to do.
Well, what did Dan Campbell just say in his last press conference?
Yeah, I mean he's saying kind of the same thing.
We tried to run the ball. Montgomery had a 17-yard run. And then we just got away from it because we couldn't run the ball. So we started putting Gibbs back out there to try and catch some more passes with St. Brown and Jalen.
Well, I mean, I know that we were down and we had to get back in a hurry or at least try. And anytime you put 54 passes on the arm of Jared Goff, you're not going to run the ball. And it's pretty hard to run the ball and pass 54 times. I mean, how many offensive plays did we have as a total? A 65 maybe? It's pretty hard. Pretty hard to run the ball.
Even when you're behind, we were never behind in that game by any sort of outrageous number to where we had to air it out in order to come back.
Yeah.
Yes, at the end of the game, we were down by 2 scores.
Yep.
But we closed the gap real quickly. Like, it became, a 3-point game? Like, it's not like we were completely down and out of that game and we had to see vintage Matthew Stafford come in and lead us on a fourth-quarter drive to score 3 possessions in a row to bring us to the glory land and win the game.
Yeah. So what has to change? So what has to change for us to get the grip back? What do you think? Where's the problem?
Our O-line has to get healthy.
Or better.
I mean, well, I'll start with healthy. I'll take healthy over better first. I mean, like, we were rotating 3 different centers in that game, 2 different guards. Like, we were pretty banged up on the O-line. I think we need a real true center.
Yeah.
I mean, you keep mentioning Jack Slaughterhouse.
Jack
Florida.
Slaughter, yeah. Jake Slaughter.
I think if he fits the card and we can get him, then that needs to be our pick. I don't watch a whole lot of college. I tune in every now and then, so I don't know all these players. My favorite part of the NFL draft is researching all these upcoming prospects. I do like that quite well. Before the draft kicked off, I called Gibbs probably the best offensive weapon in the draft. And I was right on that. People said, no, he's not the best running back. And I said, I didn't say he was the best running back. I said he's the best offensive weapon.
Yeah, there's a difference there. Well, there's a difference. And it's just like Lauren had mentioned in the chat here, so maybe not being the best running back in the last game against Pittsburgh, but as far as being a weapon, Jahmyr Gibbs goes out and catches 10 passes for 66 yards, and that is the epitome of being a weapon on an offense when you can't do one thing that you can pivot and do another. And I think that feeds right into kind of what you're saying too about David Montgomery. Like, you could still have both these guys on the field and they can still both do their job and still both be very effective. You got to leave David in the backfield and put Jahmyr out in the slot more often. You can start them both in the backfield. You can call 4 different plays if you need to, a pass and a run to Jahmyr and a pass and a run to David, and then whatever play looks best to Jared Goff, you roll with it. And they can't even get that right. I don't get it.
I think that's all tailored around Johnny Martin.
Yeah.
I know he doesn't like to be called Johnny, but Johnny, I don't really care. You haven't earned the respect in Detroit yet.
It's Detroit versus Johnny.
I think it all revolves around him. I think I have my own personal belief. It's kind of a conspiracy theory. I think he was a simp sent in by the NFL. He got a low-key message or whatever to disrupt the Detroit Lions offense and what they were doing, to pivot players against each other, to pivot fans against the players and teams, to create conflict between the front office and the coaching staff, because there was nothing stopping the Detroit Lions last year.
Hold the phone, dude. You just
Other than injury.
You just opened up a can, dude. Like, you think that there could be some validity here that Johnny Moe, even though that was Dan Campbell's pick, right, to bring in, that he was directed to kind of break it apart?
I think that conspiracy theory, I think that notion is very, very real, because if you look at how the season started, what was our offense?
Yeah.
Our offense was St. Brown and Gibbs for 6 weeks. Only when Dan Campbell took over did Jameson Williams start getting involved.
That's true.
I mean,
that is true.
You had Montgomery, who had an explosive game against the Baltimore Ravens, and then the next game he barely touched the field and saw the ball. How does that make sense?
Well, let me throw this at you, because I mean you are correct there with the fact that JMO was not being utilized enough. He was utilized in week 2. I think you just mentioned that, for a little bit, and then he kind of disappears. But there's something that I noticed the other day, and I was looking at wide receiver separation rates, and I don't understand how one of the fastest players in the league can't get separation. Because
I want to correct you there. I think he is the fastest player in the league.
All right, but he's not
You
getting
got
separation.
Tyreek Hill right now. I'm sorry?
He's not getting any separation.
It's more of a combination of how teams are playing him. They're not so worried about him. They're playing a bracket on Jameson Williams. They'd rather St. Brown catch the 10-yard pass than Jameson Williams break the game for a 60, 70-yard catch. So they're playing a bracket. So what the safety is doing is leveraging on the outside deep of JMO. And then you have the corner playing inside deep, but he's shading more inside. So they're giving JMO that kind of that comeback route. If he wants that comeback route, it's there. If he wants that deep curl that we know he loves to run, and he's really good at it, that's there on the outside shoulder. It's there all day. They're not stopping that. But they know Goff needs time to throw that route. And if the pass rush gets there, JMO's not an option on that particular passing play. They're trying to take away the cut and the angle to the outside deep of the pylon. That's what they're trying to do. If JMO runs more deep post routes, I think he has much more success because of how the safety is. He can outrun the safety. But the safety is always in the position to play inside or out. It really depends on how JMO takes that cut, that angle, when he cuts inside to run that deep post. Like we saw against, I think he did it against Pittsburgh.
Yeah, you got to be able to split the quarters. The quarters look. If you're in a quarters look with a bracket, you got to split it.
Yeah, he caught that deep post for a TD. Corner was late getting there. Safety was too far outside, and he just undercut him, and he was by himself in the end zone for a TD. So there are certain routes that the defense is giving JMO.
He's not taking them
because they know the pass rush will get there in time for that not to be an option. So they're taking away, they're being selective with what they want to take away to get their pass rush to Jared Goff in time. That the other things that are going to open up aren't available because the pass rush gets there. That's what I've noticed.
All right, well, let's switch gears here. I got to be getting off soon. I've been up since 2 a.m. So tomorrow we have a big game in the afternoon against the Vikings. Vikings are limping into this one without J.J. McCarthy. Not that I feel like that's a big deal because I think Brosmer's just as good as J.J., at least from what we've seen out of J.J. this year. Maybe not long term, but at least from what's been put on tape so far. But the other intangibles or the other things that Minnesota brings into this game, really good defense. They might be missing a couple of players, but still a really good defense. They put Jared Goff on his back, I think, 5 times in the last game. What do the Lions need to do tomorrow, in your opinion? If you were to give us a couple of keys.
We need to shore up the middle of our O-line. We need to prevent the inside rush whether they blitzing or just sending forward with a stunt. The middle interior of our O-line is our weakness. We need to stop that. That's bleeding us on offense, 100%. I think we need to get into more power run formations. We also need to spread our offense out to force the defense to show us what they're doing. When you do that, you're putting more strain on the defense because they can't disguise nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Get out there with more 5-wide. I don't care if it's a tight end, 2 running backs, JMO and St. Brown. I don't care if it's Tesla, JMO, St. Brown, Montgomery, and Gibbs. We need to spread that defense out so they can't disguise what they're doing. You're giving Jarrett a cleaner look at the field and the coverage, and he can make an appropriate decision at that point.
Yeah.
Defensively, just given our secondary and how they're playing with the pass rush, I think we need to do what Green Bay did to us, what other teams have done to us and have been successful with, and that's play a soft cover 2 shell. That'll buy time for a pass rush to get to the quarterback while limiting those quick throws. And, unfortunately, it will open up some of the things deeper down the field. But if you got a quarterback with under duress, that stuff down the field doesn't matter. Like I said already, we need to we need to force Minnesota to do what we want. And we need to do that on both sides of the ball. We can't sit there and let the opposing team dictate our game to us. We have to dictate the game to them.
Yeah, without a doubt.
And unfortunately, that is reoccurring this season at a high alarming rate. Too many times we start a game where we're trying to dictate to a team and they take that shit over and then they start telling us what we're allowed to do. And that's not our game. That's not our culture. That's not our identity.
But are we falling prey to that because of the injuries? Are we falling prey to that because we have too many miscommunications? Why are the Lions just so dysfunctional? You know, if I hear Dan Campbell tell me one more week that we need to clean something up, it's too late. You know, you get past the bye week, it's too late.
I think he would rather say there's miscommunication than there's a talent gap because we have too many injuries. Nobody wants to hear that, right?
Yeah.
So he falls back on what's politically correct to where he's not downgrading the players, he's not hurting their morale. He's trying to fire them up still, but he's not. He's not like degrading them. You know what I mean? And I think there's a huge gap with the talent on the roster versus our starters playing in games. Like there's a reason why we have starters, and there's a reason why we have starters and we have depth. There's a reason why there's 53 men on the roster and only 22 of them play.
Well, I think tomorrow's going to be a tough game, honestly. And I'm going to get into it in just a moment. Raw, I appreciate you calling in, man. I hope you have a Merry Christmas tomorrow.
Thank you too, sir.
And I'll be back.
Happy you had me on the show, man.
Yeah, always. I'll be back Friday. I think Eric will be back on Friday, and I'm going to get into my quick keys of the game, and I'm going to march out of here and get to the rest of my day. So be well, my friend, and Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Merry Christmas. Goodbye.
All right, we'll see you. Heather, I apologize. I know you tried to call, but I was having audio issues. Missed you a couple of times now. I'm going to get into some of my keys of the game. And then we'll move on. So tomorrow, obviously, you know, the fallout from last week, obviously the fans are hurt, right? We had so much hope for this season, and rightfully so. You know, coming off of a 15-2 season, what I keep seeing repetitively this week is that the Lions should have been better, you know? Hold on here. There's Heather. There you are, Heather. How are you?
Hello, Merry Christmas to you.
Hey, Merry Christmas to you too.
Rest of everybody.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, yes, the reason I've been trying to call since it's the last week's game. I mean, that game was very, very terrible when we lost to the Rams. I mean, that right there, it was. I mean, they cheat us out every single time. And then Sunday, when we came at home, I really don't know what in the world is going on right now. And you know, the referees had they could have gave us a chance to win against Pittsburgh. But you know, on tomorrow for Christmas, we want a Christmas miracle against the Vikings because we need to win and they lose and Green Bay lose to whoever they play. We want every team on our division.
We need everybody to lose, Heather. We need everyone to lose.
Exactly.
Everybody.
So that's yes, exactly. So I want to say to Coach Dan, golf, you better not screw that game up tomorrow. Let's go out there and win this game in Minnesota. That's all we want for Christmas is to win. So other than that, you tell Eric, I said Merry Christmas, and everybody Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
You too, Heather. So I got one question for you. So all you want tomorrow is a Lions win. Do you already have your 2 front teeth? Are we good there? I think you caught the joke. All right, Heather. Appreciate you. Merry Christmas. Have a wonderful evening.
All right.
All right.
Yeah, all I want for Christmas is Detroit win the game. That's
There you
it.
go.
Let's go Lions.
All right. Take care, Heather. Bye-bye.
All right, bye.
She caught it. She got it. She got it. All I want for Christmas. Yeah, we needed more wins than just tomorrow. We got a hard road. Christmas miracle, she ain't lying. She ain't lying. We need some Christmas miracles for the Lions to get into the playoffs. My final poll question, the last one. Burleson said the refs target the Lions. Do you believe the Lions are treated differently? 100% of you said yes. 100%. My last and final poll question while I go over my keys of the game. I know I'm way late into this today. Is this: do you even care? Let me rephrase that. Does it? Because I'm sure you care. Does it even matter? Matter at this point if the Lions make the playoffs? Are you done? So does it even matter if the Lions make the playoffs? Are you done? Yes or no? All right, here we go. Keys of the game tomorrow. I want to start with kind of what Raw was talking about. If they're going to bracket JMO, then I think a couple of things need to happen. Bracket coverage usually relies on 2 defenders knowing exactly who they are going to guard, right? You got to start there. So you have to be intelligent. You have to know which way you're going. how can you break that coverage? How can you break the bracket? Well, I think you really need to cross your fastest receiver with somebody else. It's not like running a pick play, but you need to cross more crossers to break a bracket. The deep post, I think that what Raw was mentioning, that can work too because JMO has such good speed. That's another way to break the bracket, is just getting past the first guy, getting up to the second guy, and getting beyond him. It just depends on how they're playing the bracket, right? If they're playing deep and getting into like deep thirds or deep quarters, it's going to be a little bit tougher to get beyond that safety with the deep post. I like the crossers, but then again, it really depends on how they're playing the bracket. So a defensive guru could tell me if I'm right or wrong on this because it's been a minute. But if you're running quarters and bracket, you would have the field sliced up, and maybe you're running a 2 deep safety shell split in halves, bracket down, meaning I take this half, you take that half, but we're going to bracket the receiver on both sides. It's kind of hard to do. You really can't do that, especially with 3 receivers in the game. You can't really do that, or you shouldn't. If you run a crosser, that means the next safety's got to pick them up. Right? So if you have 2 receivers on the one side and you have JMO on the other, it sucks that we don't have a tight end. But what I would envision is you have, whether it's Khalif or Tesla, whoever's the fastest that could really pull some attention or give you an option. Maybe you put Jahmyr Gibbs in the slot, left side, whatever side of the field, it doesn't really matter. Okay, just roll with it. They're in the middle of the field, we'll just say. Gibbs in the left slot. Amon-Ra St. Brown next to him. JMO far right, wide right, not in tight, wide right. David Montgomery in the backfield to A, pick up blitz, and then B, slide out if he can or if he needs to. So you're going 3 wides, or 3 receivers, 1 running back. And you definitely need an extra blocker in the game. And I would put Skipper in the game. And you need to make Skipper eligible. Even though I hate that now. And the reason why I'm running this is I'm taking Gibbs and I'm going to streak him across the defense on a slant that is going to kind of marry up with JMO going the other way on a slant, or down 7 slant in, Gibbs up 3 slant in, or up 4 slant. However his plant foot lands, it depends on how good his route running is. However good his plant foot goes, and then he shoots to the right. JMO 7 and over. The goal is to get JMO a little bit deeper on the slant, so that when he hits across the field, that he's beyond the linebackers, kind of in front of the safeties, but behind the corners. But if you take Gibbs and you're sliding him across, that is going to keep that corner and that safety on this side of the field, because they're going to be worried about Gibbs when he gets over. And they're so fast, both of them, that you're going to kind of meet around the same time. Therefore, who you choosing? Well, it automatically causes a little confusion. And then you got St. Brown to top it off, who I'm probably running him on a comeback route. Why? I want him going out 12, where JMO's coming across. He's running out 12, plants and comes back, pulls the cornerback in, right? And JMO's just going to zip right by him. That ball's going to be dunked right over the top of Amon-Ra St. Brown, and that's where JMO is. That's how to me, that's a good play to beat the bracket. What it's called, I don't know. I got this whiteboard that I screw with all the time, and I draw up plays all the time. I don't know what to call them because I've been out of it for a long time. I haven't coached football in forever, but I understand this. I understand the scheme. You know, I know what I'm trying to do. I just don't know what exactly I want to call it. right? I don't know all the lingo that they use at their level. But the idea for me is to match speed with speed and to bury a corner, to make him stay, but make him get, make a decision, right? Make that safety, both safeties, make a decision. I got Gibbs flying. I got JMO flying. Who am I supposed to take now? And if they're both crossing the face of these safeties, pick your poison. One of them's going to get free. Linebacker probably going to run into a corner. Right. And now you've created an opportunity. We don't have any tight ends that can. I mean, Ferksker was making some plays this last game against the Steelers. Maybe it's an opportunity to leave him in the game as another viable weapon as opposed to Skipper. That's probably a better option than Skipper because he can catch the football. But then you have David Montgomery back there. Right. So you still have to worry about David in the run game. So what is that going to do? That's going to walk your linebackers up. Right? It's probably going to keep that nickel back up a little bit if they have a nickel in. It's forcing them to respect the run. It's also forcing them to respect Jahmyr Gibbs in the pass game. It's forcing them to respect Jamison Williams. So how can you then realistically double or bracket someone knowing that all of these players are in the game? And that's what probably mind F's me the most. Is you have all these weapons and you're telling me that you can't find any route leverage and beat these guys? I don't get it. I really don't get it. So I think the best counter on this, you're probably going to want to use a speed receiver lining up close to another receiver. So that's Gibbs and Amon-Ra. Stack them, bunch them, whatever you want to do. And then you have the other speed guy, JMO, on the other side, wide side, pulling everybody out. And then they cross. And it works, really because that low defender, he's either going to get picked or rubbed, hopefully legally, by another defensive player, not you. And then you've got some route leverage, right? You do some route leverage, some deep crossers, which I believe is the best way. But anyway, use some motion, pre-snap motion. Either get them confused or make them start to communicate. The comeback route with Amon-Ra. So I'm trying to mix them all in. You've got certain beaters, which comeback routes, crossers, those can usually mess up a bracket. But if you're putting all of these into one play, there's no reason why you can't get one of these guys free. There's really not. We've already gone over the injury report. Offense versus defense for me in this game. The matchup, obviously, the Lions still have a top 3 offense, regardless of what's been going on the last several weeks. The Vikings, they have a red zone wall. I mean, there's still a really great defense in the red zone. Our strength post the Ben Johnson era, we've been missing something, but our strength is scoring points. You just score. Whoever can score points. You got to score points somehow. I don't care where the ball's going. It's got to go to somebody. You got to figure it out in this game. Jahmyr Gibbs, he's explosive behind the line. He's explosive on the outside. David Montgomery, he's explosive behind the line. He's explosive catching passes out of the backfield. Don't leave the guy on the sideline. Find a way to put him in the game to make, the defense worry a little bit about where the ball's going to. Because if all you have is JMO out wide and then you're motioning him to go back behind the line of scrimmage, well, now you just removed an offensive weapon on the outside. What about just keeping David back behind the line? Put him in the game, man. And I'm not saying like he's the answer, but the answer is options. That's the answer. So my biggest key for the Lions this weekend or tomorrow, options. Quit putting baby in the corner, right? Options. We need all options on the table. This matchup is no different than what it was before. The Vikings' biggest weakness is between the 20s. It's the same as it was before. It's no different. The Vikings give up the 28th ranked most yards allowed between the 20s. Is where it's all coming from. They rely on turnovers in the red zone. Key number 2 is don't give up the damn football. No interceptions, no fumbles. All right, be smart. Jared Goff, unfortunately, is going to be dirting the ball and throwing the ball out of bounds. You're not going to like it, but it will happen in this game. The bend but don't break gamble for Minnesota, we need to break it. Because that's what they're playing right now, is bend but don't break. But they do own the best red zone defense in the league. So they're bending 20-20, and they will not break inside the 20. So key number 3 is what? You already know it. I don't even need to say it. I've been saying it every week. Forget the red zone. Straight to the end zone. When you start getting up towards that 30-yard line, you need to have a conversation, Jared Goff, with Dan Campbell that says, bro, forget the red zone. Let's go straight to the end zone. I don't care about killing the clock. I think that Dan Campbell gets this shit in his head like, I got to kill the clock and score. No, you just need to score, dude. Don't kill the clock. Don't try to run it 4 more times. Don't try to take 2 more minutes off the clock. No one cares about the perfect stat lines. The only stat that matters is 1 more point than your opponent. That's it. So forget the end zone. Go straight to the end zone. Quit trying to kill the clock. Manage the clock. Save that to the 4th quarter. All right, when you have to do it then. Don't do it in the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd quarter. Pedal to the metal, put it to the floor, and go. It's funny that when we pass the football and we actually target our guys downfield, how it works. But the minute we start to dink and dunk and then try to run it a little bit too much, and then we get away from our game, and we never seem to get back to downfield passing until it's too late, and we're behind, and now we have to make up for it, and they already know what you're doing. It's pretty hard to play offense that way. Minnesota blitzes a lot. 45% of dropbacks this season, Minnesota's blitzing. So if they can neutralize the run game early against the Detroit Lions and then blitz against the pass, we're in trouble. Now, Jared Goff is good against the blitz. He's not good when the blitz turns to pressure. So key number 4 is the offensive line. I don't care what we have to do this week, tomorrow. I don't even know what the answer is anymore. You know, before I was saying put in an extra offensive lineman, they won't do it. Last week I said you need to start putting your tight ends in. Well, I've been saying it all season, honestly. Put your tight ends in motion. If you're running the football, bury them behind whatever lane you're trying to create. Bring them in to seal block the other side. And they started to do that a little bit, and then they get away from it. You know where you would see Sam Laporta, he would go in motion, and then he would dance kind of across the backside of Jared, or to the left or to the right of Jared. He would just kind of hop until the ball was about to get snapped, and then bang, he goes and he finds a hole, he picks up a player, and he makes a block. Where's that been? I don't care who it is. That was a huge key to our run game, especially in short down and distance. That was key number 4, right? Yeah, it was key number 4. Key number 5. You know, the season is pretty much over, right? I'm not being a downer. Not saying I don't love my Lions. Not saying I don't want to see them win. Of course, I don't want to end up with a big lump of shit coal in my stocking on Christmas because of the Lions. Like, can you imagine for a moment well, I know you can because a lot of you are Lions fans in here, that tomorrow is Christmas and the Lions are having one of their worst seasons in 4 years, 5 seasons. Statistically, it's not. Record wise, it is. It's right now the fourth best record for Dan Campbell, and it could easily end up being tied with the second best record for Dan Campbell, right? And I know that sounds bad to say that. Hold on here. Sorry. I know it sounds bad to say that, but the Lions at 8-7, they could finish 8-9, or they could finish 10-7. So either way you look at it, we could either have the second worst record in Dan Campbell's era, which would end up being 8-9. Or we could end up having the third best record at 10-7. In either one, still not a terrible record. Even if you're sub 500, which you can't be 500 anymore in the NFL, but even if you're sub 500, it's not like it's the worst season ever. It's just really bad for what we expected. And I don't know why we're trying to melt this team down, burn it all down at the stake if we ended up 8-9. We would have been killing for that for many seasons. So I think that we have to finish 9-8 no matter what, even if we miss the playoffs. We have to finish at least 9-8. I would love to see him finish 10-7. I really would. That still gives us a chance. But Dan, key number 5 is just let these guys play. Maybe you just need to let Jared Goff go in there and call the plays. Let him orchestrate this offense. Tell him, give him an idea of where it needs to be and let him go do it. Let him do it for the last 3 games or the last 2 games. Just let him go call the offense. Maybe he will be able to put you in a better situation to win. He's an extremely smart dude, and I have good faith in Jared Goff and his intelligence that he knows what his players are able to do, when they're able to do it, and what needs to be called. Otherwise, you wouldn't have him as your quarterback. On the defensive side of the ball, there's a lot that I hear about Calvin Shepard and fire Calvin Shepard. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I don't think that we can blame Calvin Shepard for some of the things that have gone on, or at least all the things that have gone on. I think that he has orchestrated some of the best defenses that we have seen this season. Some of the best defenses that we've ever seen. When the chips are down, he was able to do some pretty amazing things. But right now, he is faced with, injuries on this defense that have removed part of that identity, which is stopping the run. Brian Branch I don't think a lot of fans understand how important he really is. When he's not in the game, you feel it immediately. He's the soldier out there that unlocks everything. You want to stop the run? Brian Branch is your guy. You want to control, the pass game on an entire side of a field? Put Brian Branch over there, and that'll happen. And it has happened. Not so much because of his coverage, but it's the mixture of what he brings with the corner in front of him. And then you can't even try to run to that side. If you're trying to do play action or an RPO, because he sniffs it out. And even if you do get the pass off, more often than not, he'll break it up. He'll push you out of bounds in the air, or he'll drop you right where you catch it. No yak. And that's key, the yak. We have to stop the yak. So that's key number one. The Lions have to limit the yak yards against Justin Jefferson or Addison or whomever. Whomever's catching the ball. Have to limit the yak yards. They're going to get passes off. They're going to have completed plays, but you have to stop the yak yards. Key number two for the defensive line. Aaron Jones is probably going to play, at least from everything that I'm seeing. He's more likely going to play than not. And you can't let him go off. So do you sell out completely to take care of the run game and then maybe you open up a little bit in the pass game? I think that's a bad idea. But what I do like is Max Brosmer and the fact that the Lions have no reason other than to just get after this dude. There's nothing else that they really need to do. You're starting a guy that shouldn't be able to beat you. He really shouldn't. I would expect that they're going to try to run the ball a little bit more in the beginning of the game, but he's not afraid to pass it, and he does have a relationship that he has shown with Justin Jefferson. He's kind of the bailout option for Brosmer. So if I'm Kelvin Shepherd, I'm going to mix up what I'm doing. I'm probably going to put 3 defensive linemen up every once in a while and put some more linebackers in there, put some more speed in there, and I'm going to get after Brosmer from the second level, right? You're going to blitz a safety, you're going to blitz a DB, you're going to blitz a linebacker, and everyone else is going to play contain and coverage. Be different. You have nothing else to play for right now but to figure it out. Do something that they're not expecting you to do. Be different in this game. Man coverage and stunt. So man free, cover one, Shepherd is aggressive. I think he's likely going to stack the box with 8 defenders at times, and I think that's a mistake. I really do. I think that we still need to stick with zone. We did really well with the zone last week, but we didn't stop the run. Missed tackles, holds not called. I mean, I pointed out 3 just on one play for the 45 or 55-yard touchdown by Jalen Warren. There was 2 blocks in the back and 2 holds on that play. None of them called right in front of the refs. Can't do anything about it. They were in position, and I'm getting sick of hearing, well, at least they were there. At least they were close. Nope. You're not throwing horseshoes or hand grenades. You need to be there. And if they're penalized, if they're causing a penalty on the play, if they're doing something illegal on the play, then you better go get in the ref's face about it. Quit staying on the sideline, right, and being stoic and just saying, oh, woe is me, which I know that Kelvin Shepherd's not like. But don't just eat it. Go do something about it. Go say something about it. Make it known that you're pissed off, because until I see these guys jumping up and down on the sideline and getting pissed off about the refs, why would they stop? This game is going to be on national TV, just like Thanksgiving. Everybody's eyes are going to be on this game. I hope to God we don't have another crazy reffed football game. Because if we do, I think that just tells you the NFL don't care. So just play free. That's got to be the biggest key for me, man, is just play free. Let these guys go do what they're good at. Probably the most important key that I really haven't discussed is really got to feed the speed in this game. You have to match intensity and speed. And right now the Lions own the speed factor, right? They have Justin Jefferson, but we have Jahmyr Gibbs and J-Mo. You have to use that speed against the defense. You have to use it against their aggressiveness. If they're going to blitz, use that speed. If you see that blitz is coming, you need to kick JMO out, or I'm sorry, you need to kick Jameer out and, with motion and get him back out there in the slot. If they still want to come, great. You better two-step out, get that ball out. I will say that, TJ Lang, as much as I would disagree with him on that safety, I don't think that Jared Goff is to blame on that safety. They're on him pretty quick. Jared does hold the ball a little bit too long on some plays, but we're talking a minimum number of sacks, right? We're talking a minimum number of plays. And why I mentioned, Jamison Williams not getting separation, that's a problem. Because if you're not calling any comeback routes at all, it's pretty hard to have an outlet when you don't have Sam Laporta. And I don't feel like the Lions offense has done enough to maximize what they have on the field in giving Jared Goff enough outlets. He doesn't have the safety valve. Sam Laporta is gone. Create another outlet. You have to have someone coming back. Especially when you have these blitzing defenses. They're blitzing at you. You should be coming right with them so that you can get the ball, turn and go. Right? Or you have to call some slants, something to get these guys in front of Jared Goff. He shouldn't have to look to the right or to the left all the time to maybe complete a pass to the outside. We need an outlet more often, and they're just not doing it. So we'll see what happens. Last thing I'll say about the defense. Jack has done everything he possibly can this season. We can't ask Jack to continue to do more. And you know what? In a game where a lot of yards were feasted on the Lions last week, we can't blame Jack for that. I mean, the dude has played incredibly well all season. I don't care about sacks on first down. I don't care about sacks on second down. They're great. They do help at times, but if you turn around and you give up a first down right after that, it didn't help. I need to see more sacks on third down. And if they're going for it on fourth down, I need to see more sacks on fourth down. Or TFLs, either way. If they dare run the ball, then you got to drop them. I don't know why we can't seem to drop guys behind the line of scrimmage. It doesn't make any sense to me. So I'm going to say it again. Aiden has to show up. Last week, 2 sacks, 1 on first down. I think the other one came on third down. The second one, or whatever the one was on third down, yeah, that's helpful. But disappearing the rest of the game can't happen. Can't have missed tackles. You have to be able to fit the run. If you're going to be in on the rundowns, you have to be able to fit it. Can't get too wide, can't get too high. You have to fit it. But they need to get Aiden Hutchinson standing up. They need to put him in a position to win. But they have to do that with everybody. Everybody needs to be put into a position to win. Forget the stubbornness. Just get after the football. Let these guys have fun. They're not having fun. If you let them have more fun and do what they're good at, they just might make more plays. 2 games left. You need to go out there and give it everything you got. That's all. That's all we want to see. Want to see competitive football. We're sick of seeing the mistakes. We're sick of hearing illegal formation. Right? That crap can't happen anymore. So go win, have fun, and that's it. That's all I got. There's really not much to this game. The joy and the love, it's kind of getting sucked out of us because of where we are. But at the same time, Lions fans have never given up. True Lions fans have never given up. There's no reason to give up yet. There's no reason to give up after week 17. There's always going to be another season. And I believe that this team is still headed in the right direction. I believe in it more now than I have before. I mean, we have the right players. We're just missing a few. And maybe a couple of the ones that we do have aren't the right players, but they're still not bad players. They just rely upon the great players that maybe we don't have in the game all the time because they're injured, right? They're out. So head up. That's right. Head up. Tomorrow's a new game. Tomorrow's Christmas, man. So more importantly, make sure you don't let this affect your family, right? Don't let football ruin your day. Hopefully it's a joyous day for us all tomorrow. But if it's not, don't let it ruin Christmas for your family. Promise me that. You won't let it get in between a smile and a good day. Because that tomorrow, that's what it's all about. Enjoy the day. Right? If it's that bad, just turn it off and say forget it. So that's it. Merry Christmas, everybody. We'll catch you definitely on Friday. Depending on how tomorrow goes, I may or may not do a post game. It is Christmas, even though I'll be here. I'll be here by myself tomorrow. Everyone's got to work. We'll see. We'll see. I always find something to do. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. All right, y'all. Go and probably go to Detroit Lions. We'll see you in the next one. All right. Merry Christmas. Adios.
Pressured by Hutchinson. He goes down.